2 minutes on the clock, huh? Oh man, just give me a second. All right, let's do this. Move over. Hello and welcome to the FixerNet podcast. Um, this is a bit more of a somber episode, as you can tell, because we're missing the meme splash image right now. I Let me start here. There has been some allegations of sexual misconduct and pedophilia in our community, the FGC, which has, for the most part, ended up turning out to be true for a lot of these people. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Way more than should be, way more than is necessary, because even one is more than enough, is too much. And I already did a response to this where I think I rambled on and on about how much I hate things, but I wanted to, instead of being negative the entire time, I wanted to take this opportunity to bring people together and try and figure out a way to actually come back from this. And to do that, I have been I've spent the past day. Brian's been putting together evidence to support our claims, so that we're not just talking uninformed. Uh, Put together a list of topics and sent them out, and we have guests on this panel. This panel ranges from people who are just casual viewers of the FGC, just casual fans, to people who are running tournaments and are a huge part of it. People who are volunteering, people who play for teams. And I thought I'd have us all come together and put our voices together in order to, you know, try and figure out something. First, debate the topics, figure out what the best course of action is, and then my goal is to, by the end of this episode, by the end of this podcast, to have a certified list and a roadmap of where we need to go with this in order to make things better after the hit our community takes, thanks to the actions of our leaders. And let's see. Right now, I just want to take a second to apologize to all the victims. I'm sorry we didn't protect you the way that we should have. We should have been a lot more caring. We should have looked out for you better. And I'm sorry this is what it took, this absolute apocalypse, in order to get change. Because I know there have been women fighting against misogyny within the FGC that have been mostly ridiculed. Some taken seriously, but mostly ridiculed. And the pedophilia thing is at least new to me, but I'm very sorry to each and every one of you for how we have failed you. And this panel is us discussing how we can do better so that that does not happen again. All right. So you heard me talk about the panelists that we will have today, and in all honesty, it's I have a lot of different people, and let me introduce them. First is myself. My name's Nick. I have been a prominent member of the FGC for a few years. I've kind of fallen off the roadmap, but I'm still like blood, heart, and soul in this community, and I love it. I've brought in Brian, who once played for a team and is still at least is a casual member, like is around and actually like participates in tournaments still. I got Daquan, who does still currently play for a team, so he can give us a perspective from the player side of things, from a professional player side of things. I'm bringing in Justin, who is a volunteer at a lot of these tournaments, so he knows the ins and outs of these figureheads and helps run these things. He's actually met Jay Bailey, Jay Bailey. I don't know how I messed up his name, and he's like actually somebody that's done a lot of work with with these people to make sure that these tournaments go and run smoothly, and is a dear friend of mine. He will be coming in later, around 5 o'clock, because he won't be able to make it for the first part of this debate. Uh, I'm going to be bringing in Josh, who is just all around a good dude. He won't be here for a bit, but he's doing his best. My mic's actually maxed out. I'll just try talking a bit louder instead. Um, Last person to come will be Ron, but that's a maybe. He said that he would try and be here, but he has things going on at the moment which kind of take precedence over all of this. Uh, so first thing I wanted to do was establish what our values as a community are, and maybe I missed some, maybe there's some you can add, but I believe that our core values, our real core values, are just having fun together, having an inclusive community, boosting and playing the games that we love, and being competitive and giving a fair chance to everyone. That is the bottom line, what we need to, what we're trying to hold up, what we're trying to do. It's just playing games that you love on a wider stage and getting to be competitive, man. That's our whole thing. And I wanted to keep these core values in mind when we took this discussion to the next level. So I'm now going to go call the guys in. Hopefully, they answer so we can get this panel started and start talking about these various issues we've got going on. Uh, my dog's at the door. He's trying to barge in. Uh, hey, my guy. First of all, thank you to the people who are here right now. I know that this is not a place where you want to be. It's about to be a very serious and somber discussion. Nobody usually wants that, but it was very important that we do this.
Discuss.
Hey, man.
Hi.
Brian's not up yet. Oh, could you? I'm sure most people know who it is, but could you tell the people who you are? For
Yeah.
this is Daquan, who I was talking about. He's an actually like he's an actual player for a team right now, so that's where his knowledge comes from. So he's a voice you can listen to. Okay.
I just joined. But hi, I'm Daquan. I'm one of the professional players. There's a little friend group I'm in, and this whole week has like hit me hard a lot. I barely got any rest from this, so I sound a little different. It's just because it's kind of a touchy subject. My teammates know about this. They've been checking up on me.
Yeah.
It's just it's a lot at the moment. I had I the team owner like bring me to a Xbox party and say, "Do you have any idea what's going on at all?" I explained it to him, and he looked at he said like, "If anything that's happened with you back then, let me know, and we'll make sure that we could keep you safe from all this stuff." Honestly, I wouldn't know what to do without my whole teammates, especially the ones that have left the team. I still keep in touch with them. They check on me even when I go to tournaments and stuff, and all experience. But it's
Sorry.
heartbreaking to talk
Yeah,
about. It's heartbreaking to talk about,
it is.
especially when you have a couple that you grew up watching, you want to be like them. It's very unfortunate. All
Yeah.
this is going on, and I want to throw a really deep apology to all the victims.
Thank you.
It hurt.
Uh, yeah, I just
It
wanted
really
to,
does hurt.
yeah, to put in that Milk's in the chat. He said that he's here for you and he's been following the stuff as it went on. And
I do
when it
appreciate.
gets serious, it's often more important to at least not tune out everything. So you're not wrong, Milk. And thank you for being here for us. We're
Like
more
I
directly.
had to like I had the mustard of the come in here and talk about this because one of my friends who's a streamer, she was afflicted by this because she was at one of the incidents in 2017 with one of the people. She said it was kind of really rough on her because she took advice from them to being a better commentator and all that. So it's kind of hard to see someone that you know close affected by, even if like it's someone that you don't like. I went and checked on one of the people I'm extremely like a big rival with, and he was close with one of the people that whole incident. And seeing him on stream crying just broke my heart. Felt so bad for him. I do give him like shit sometimes for his play style, but I don't hate the guy. Jealous of how good he is, and just seeing him that I immediately sent him the message, see he was all right. Been rough. All of it
Yeah,
go away.
it's really tough out here. And
Kind of getting choked up at
sorry, it's
talk
all
about
right,
it,
man.
but
I understand.
it's all right. You don't have to apologize. As someone who's in the competitive scene, we do see it once in a while with the whole like scandals and all that, but you don't see it every day, every hour, a week or so. With this whole week of scandals, and it kind of makes me say that. And in all honesty, I'm glad Nintendo doesn't endorse us because it make them look bad. It's the
Yeah,
fact that we're the we're kind of the people, the bad apples of the group are slowly causing this whole scene to go back to mid to like start 2000s fighting game style, where not a lot of people want to do like current sponsored tournaments, and it feels like we're just pushing every single thing step back.
yeah. Uh, but I want to
I
before
have
we
no
get
words to say that.
before things got too dire, I did want to remind us that things are bad, yes, but the whole point of this topic, this discussion, this panel is to try and make a better place, is to attempt to have a roadmap to how we can recover and get better eventually with time. Also, I'm
It's
looking
like
at the thing, and Mr. McFinnigan isn't here. Oh, but he's
muted.
deaf. Yeah, he's
I
muted.
think
But yeah.
I have
Hey,
one
Gregory.
more thing to add. Um,
Thanks for coming, dude.
earlier, like today, Music King came out with a video saying because of false allegations, and I felt so bad for him because he had to say some things, very personal things that made the fact that he wouldn't do nothing wrong. In all honesty, Music King's a nice guy. I hate to see him being blamed for stuff like this. I just don't see that with someone the
Yeah.
same disability as me. It's it's wrong of him to make stuff up, knowing the fact that this could affect someone for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
think I've said mostly what for right now.
All right. Sorry, man. I'm just trying to
That's all right.
get things uh get things set up. If I'm sorry, I know I'm looking pretty unprofessional looking at my phone and stuff, but I'm just trying to get everything set up so that we can have the most smooth panel we can. I believe I sent everybody a list of topics, and Gregory's having some technical difficulties. That's fine, man. Do what you got to do. And Ron is in the chat. It's great. I can bring him in. As I was saying earlier, Ronaldo Kun is actually a tournament organizer. He runs a weekly tournament that I'm a part of his community, and he was supposed to be part of this panel so that we can get him in here. So I'm gonna let him in if he's accepted my friend request. Doesn't look like he has yet, so I'll wait for that and I'm gonna let him in. And we're just waiting for Gregory to fix up his technical difficulties, and we're waiting on. Oh, thanks, Ron. I appreciate that. And we're waiting on Brian, who's we don't know where he is. But I guess we could just start with just the two of us, if need be. But I think I talked about my what my values are in this community. Would you like to expand on that in any way, Daquan, or add anything to that? That's got to be a lighter topic.
A lighter topic.
Yeah, I was saying,
I'm sorry.
yeah, I talked about what our values should be as a community, and sort of asked you like, what do you want to like? Would you like to expand on that or add any values to that that I might have missed off of the topics panel?
I actually would.
I said having fun together, having an inclusive community, boosting and playing games that we love, and being competitive and giving a fair chance to everyone, which I feel is our
Right.
core values.
Right. I think I don't know. I kind of separate the younger like crowd from the crowd. It's more or less
Yeah,
kind of like keeping everyone safe. Have one side there, one side there. All honesty, community
yeah. That was
had
actually
more
yeah, part of one of our
competitive spirit.
so one of our topics was talking about some of the regulations, the pushback to it, and the things that people have already done. And one of them has been that they've started having no alcohol at events and
Yeah.
separating the adults and the children. And the children have to have adult supervision at all times when they go to tournaments.
None of the ego faces, which I can understand that. Very inappropriate.
Thing is, I want to like start the conversation, but I also don't want to leave anybody behind.
Brian on the way.
Yeah, like Brian's on the way. Gregory's fixing his mic up. Ron's not home yet. We can probably let Ron come when he's ready. But, and Scrappy won't be here till 5, so we got time. But I guess if we're going to start, then let's start from the beginning with all of the people that we know for a fact have been uh,
Confirmed.
not confirmed. No, I don't want to say confirmed because some of these people are. It's still just allegations. I just want to show the full list of people who have had allegations so far. It's a long, long list, way longer than
Yeah.
it really should be. And this is just and this is like a lot of the Smash community and some of the other communities, but mostly Smash. And as I said, nobody should be on this list. Even one is too much. But the fact that it's this long and this isn't even everybody yet kind of like disturbs me. So I'm gonna show that
More
real
people are
quick.
coming out with all this.
Hmm. Sorry, I'm just putting it up on the screen so that people can actually like see what I'm talking about. There we go.
Sorry for being late. Just realized.
It's all good, dude.
Oh, you
I was
did.
charging my phone. I was like, oh wait, let me go check up on something. And I saw you started a call, so I was like, let me just hop on real quick.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm just right now. I'm showing all of the alleged people. Alleged, not all of them are confirmed. I'm sure some of
Yeah.
them are fake, but a lot of these, way more than ever should be, are true, as far as we know, and that's saddening. Oh, by the way, before I forget, would you like to introduce yourself to the people? Brian, this is Brian, as I was saying before in my introductions. He did play for a team for a while. He's now more of a casual observer, but he does know his stuff when it comes to at least the Smash community.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you'd like to say anything, introduce yourself or anything.
Um, I guess you pretty much summarized it. Like, I've been a part of like the Discord Smash community for about 2 to 3 years. I saw stuff that like very similar to this, maybe not in the sense of like sexual assault or molestation, but I saw some really awful things that led to like people getting banned, people losing stuff. It's tough, but we were able to move on as a community, and that small community as it is, to move forward. So I'm pretty sure we can do the same thing here, even though it's at a larger scale.
Okay. So Gregory's here, but he's having like technical issues, so he's figuring that out.
Yeah.
Justin won't be here till 5, as you saw, and Ron isn't home yet, but he is in chat, just trying to show some support, which I appreciate. Also, Milk is in chat as well, which I appreciate your support, dude. I really do.
This is your job.
I know that isn't exactly your community. You don't even really like fighting games all that much. But so I appreciate you still coming out here and showing support despite all that. And I really appreciate you, man. Um, so I guess since like the core three of us are here at the moment, at least until Gregory gets uh, his stuff sorted out, we can start the actual like discussion to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
Uh, so I wrote on the topics list was that we have 3 conflicts. Oh, sorry, Milk said something. Yeah, he's part of the larger gaming community and industry. Consider himself a part of. Yeah, I understand that. That's why I wanted to try and have Indy and Liam here, but they were busy with family, and I'm not going to take them away from family. So
Yeah.
nobody go give them hate for not being here. But I did wish that they were there so that they could talk about this from their side as actual people of the industry, of the gaming industry, like actual developers and people who work with those kind of people. Oh, and I also asked Tom, but Tom did not want to be here because this is a sensitive topic for him. 'Cause he has friends who have been on both sides of this, and he wanted to withhold his opinion, and I don't at all blame him for it, and I still respect him deeply. and I understand that this is probably hard for him as well as everybody else. So please don't send any hates to them for not being here or speaking up about anything because that's, well, frankly, that's none of your business. First of all, but like this is a tough time. Um, so I divided into three conflicts: fan versus fan, jail versus in community, and esports versus code of conduct. I'm going to do a quick summary of each of these things, and then maybe when we start actually like diving into what it is and what it's about, I can start going deeper into what these actually mean. So, your fan versus fan thing is, I'm sure you've seen the zero situation, and I actually put links to some Twitter threads and tweets to show that this is a real thing that's happening. That I'm not just making it up. But in the zero fans and other fans in general have a thing where they are unable to accept that their fave might have done these heinous acts and continue to defend them despite all evidence or even the person themselves coming through and like actually admitting to this stuff. And my question is like how do we address that? How do we get them to either see reason or let them leave? Because now the fans are in disarray with the ones that have seen it and have enough. No, I don't want to say common sense. Have seen it and are at least like detached enough that they can that they're still hurt, but they can still say, uh, "I'm sorry. Let me. I can't follow this guy anymore because of what he's done." But
Yeah.
then there's the fans who are like, and I don't blame. That's why I didn't want to say common sense because I know that they're hurting. They are. They cannot believe that this person who they look up to and who has been nice to them or whatever in tournaments and who they really really like hold to a higher pedestal can do these heinous acts and they refuse to believe it and they're in denial. They're not stupid or anything as much as we
Yeah,
call
no.
that. They're in denial, and
Because
that's
commit.
normal. Yeah, and I do not blame them. But how do we either like get them to come out of denial? Like we're not therapists, but we do need to like address this because, like I said, fan communities are in flames right now, fighting each other and everybody else to defend their faves, even when they're guilty and have admitted as such. So how do we either like help them out of that, or let them go so the community can thrive without that hatred? Because if they stay and they're not going to change, they're like be able to see reason and how things are. It's going to kinda- it's going to affect the community badly. Was what I was trying to say. Because there would
I
be
mean, I
massive
think that's
hate.
affecting it now. Is
Yeah,
just we every time we see a professional person or even like celebrities, we hold them on like such a high pedestal that we also forget that they're human beings. They can do wrong. So I guess that's one thing we need to push. I guess in general is just not to hold people up to this like high pedestal. Because then we get people who are like, well, they wouldn't do anything like that. I know they wouldn't, because for my hero, they would do no wrong.
yeah,
And it's also kind of hard because we have so many younger people trying to get in. They're like, well, this guy, he's like really cool. Like he's got this and this. He has a whole team, etc. and so forth.
yeah.
You guys hear me?
Oh, we heard him.
Oh,
Yeah, Greg just talked. I heard him, but he's really really quiet. Can you speak up? I also turned you up.
he said he was doing something with push to talk that was like messing up his mic. I didn't know.
Oh,
I
okay.
was looking at the messages on Discord.
All right. Oh, okay. So Sagi has came with the first sort of response. He says the problem is a big thing. The issue falls on the concept of burden of proof. The victims are speaking emotionally. The people who aren't falling in line, if they're not outright evil, are speaking logically. And obviously, we need to listen to victims, but we live in a horrible age. When you really think about it, I would never say any of these people are lying unless it's 100% proven, especially when there's
Mhm.
much less likely that they're lying. But anyone who thinks no one would ever lie about this, I'm calling no one a liar. I am not stepping on that ever. It's insensitive and terrible. But anyone who thinks liars and evil manipulative people aren't out there have likely never been to the dark corners of the internet. There are some horrendously evil things done by people online, even in this. But how do you deal with this? That's what we're here to. Yeah, you can't call these people liars because likely they are not. But there are evil people out here who are evil, just as evil as the people who victimize others. That's true. Like, I get where you're coming from because there have been people who have like accused people of rape for clout or just to get people that they hate put away with circumstantial evidence. It has happened before, but I don't want to be. I don't think we should be the type of dude who pulls that forward when like so many people don't come forward because of that. It's a problem in the community that people will excuse rapes or victim blame the victims, and that causes them to not want to come forward when they have been hurt. Which is why I try to say we should believe the victims. And I think one solution that I would like to put forward to all of you that we can discuss, it might not be a perfect solution, but having a committee that is a third party that can investigate these claims and also having more security like cameras and whatever at places that can so that we can have more physical proof because a lot of these venues right now are like borrowed and they're stadiums or whatever where they don't have much security and also don't have much like a way that you could like record this to keep people safe. And because of that, like we don't have much evidence if somebody does something. And we also one of the reasons people have gotten away with this for so long is because we protect our own. Same as cops. Cops are literally
Yeah.
killing people in the streets, and we have them protecting their own, which is why nobody gets acquitted or arrested as often as they probably should be when they do this stuff. And unfortunately, as much as I hate to admit it, it's kind of the same in the FGC where like the people in power will be like, "I know this dude. He's my brother." It's not as evil as cops. I know this dude. He's my brother. I don't want to see him go to jail. I will sweep this under the rug. So I feel like
Yeah.
having a third party investigator and having more security, not just in the form of like guards, but also in the form of like surveillance, uh, would make things at least a bit safer. And having designated safe spaces for people for when creeps will keep following you. Like I said in my video, as rambly as that thing is, and I apologize. Uh, I'm sure we are willing to protect you. If you see us at a con and you feel unsafe, please feel free to come up to us and hang out with us because we will like look out after you. Like we want to make sure that our community is as safe as possible, and I'm sure Daquan would deck a motherfucker like the first chance he gets.
Yeah.
Why do you think I'm gonna deck someone?
You were a big
The first,
football dude. Somebody ever like cause trouble, I bet you would choke slam him.
Yeah.
So
I'm a pacifist. I hope you realize that.
I'll deck him. I don't care. So,
You
point
scared,
being, point being,
you scared
you
ass
will
motherfucker. You can't deck someone.
that
Okay, besides
Okay.
that, but I will defend someone.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more of less the I could talk it out or prove my point. So
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just saying that like please come to us if you feel unsafe, but we want to do more in having surveillance and a third party investigator for times like these. And that's the idea I had that I had been thinking about that I wanted to put forth to you guys. Now, of course, one of the cons I have to be fair to both sides, and one of the obvious drawbacks is that that can also be used against us if the people are kind of in league or whatever. Because same with once again, if I'm taking it back to the police, to the policing, they have an HR, they have a union, and the union are supposed
Yeah.
to be protecting the people, but they're protecting the police, which makes it harder for police chiefs to get rid of people who do wrong. Even if they aren't like I'm protecting my own, like they're like, but it's also tougher for me to get rid of it because the union will be up my butt if I step out of line too much. So the third party of the union that was supposed to protect the people ends up protecting the police instead, which is not who they're supposed to be protecting. So
Well, if we do it the third party thing, where are they going to get funding? That's another thing.
yeah, God, that's another
Because
thing.
if people then start funding those, they're like, well, this top
Oh.
player is funding our thing. So if we talk bad about them, we'll lose a huge majority of our funding, and then it goes back to like stuff being corrupt, stuff being swept under the rug. It's just really hard. Know what I mean?
Now I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
What if this is hypothetical? I'm just thinking out loud here.
Mhm.
We had the funding come from the actual people who are like that make the games. Like if we had Capcom step in and make that third party investigation team, then they'd have the funding for it and they'd know better. They'd be able to sponsor with a more peace of mind, knowing that we're able to look into this and you know make sure that we're not messing our stuff up, right?
Yeah,
Because like it works for them. Like they have no reason to refuse because that means that they're not
they're
sponsoring
funding.
players that are they're funding something that'll keep their brand clean and won't mess up their limelight,
Hmm.
And it also means that we get third party endorse Capcom endorse people who can actually look into this and like put the ban hammer down quick and fast when things come out of line. And Capcom doesn't want any smearing on their name, which is why they would like totally be up for it. And this way, it helps everybody because now they feel like it's safer to sponsor us again. Since we also have a problem, we were losing sponsors because of this. People are not going to want to sponsor us now. Like
It
if
does.
they're
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh no, sorry. Keep going.
I was gonna say now because they're the ones that are like doing the investigations and keeping the peace. They can feel safer sponsoring us again, knowing Big Brother Capcom is like making sure to keep these kids on lockdown, so no, nothing crazy will happen. Is what I was thinking out loud. So, what do y'all think about that?
The only thing I see a problem with that is it's gonna have to take some time, like to incorporate some sort of thing. That's like a lot of trust that a company has to give. Like you just saw with Nintendo, like with this whole situation, they're like, guys, this after so long, you guys wanted our support, and then this happens. Like, why should we give you a second chance if you
Yeah,
guys are gonna keep breaking down the walls that we're trying to build, or that you're trying to build? Sorry.
yeah, yeah. No, I completely agree with that. I really don't have a much of a comeback to that one. You
But
want
I
Nick at one
do, I
point?
do say, because like, would you say the majority of what's going on right now is centered in the Smash Brothers community, or would you say in general the whole fighting game community?
Okay, I'd say a majority of it is centered in this Smash community, but I don't want to say like it's just like this is like a widespread thing happening
Yeah,
everywhere. Apparently, it's like it's
the
like
whole
as Milk
game.
said, it's the whole gaming industry as a whole. Like we can't like it's happening everywhere in
Yeah,
big
look.
numbers. But the thing is, Smash
Can
was
you guys
just
hear
the
me?
first one to really blow up like first, and I think it's gonna keep spreading outwards as more people feel safer to come out with their story, and they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't. You definitely.
Yeah,
It's up to you. Like, let me not also say that you should come out but like, if if you feel safe enough to share your story and get your predator out of the community, please come forward so that we can make it a safer place for you and others.
yeah.
But
No one has to go through any of this alone.
yeah. So like, I just want to make sure I'm very clear on what I say because I don't want anybody misinterpreting like what I mean. But like as more people will come out because they have the strength to, we're going to see it spread more and more throughout the entire industry. So right now it's concentrated on Smash because that's where it started. But I feel like as time goes on, it's going to really spread to the rest of the FGC and the rest of the gaming industry as a whole. Yeah, as Milk said,
Hello?
he just gave some examples. It's coming out every. Oh, I heard Greg again, but he's still quiet, and I haven't
Can
heard
you
all
hear
of
me?
it.
A little bit, or no?
Yeah,
There we
yeah,
go. There we go.
yeah.
Am I fine?
Yeah, now
You're
you're
Yeah.
good.
you're quiet, but
Oh,
like, yeah,
that's okay. I'll see if I can fix how quiet I am.
yeah,
If not, Nick, just lower everyone else down and raise him up just slightly if you have
yeah.
to.
Yeah, I'll do that if it
Just
works.
for your end, so we can hear him in the VOD.
Yeah, yeah. Nice to hear you, my guy. Do you want to do you want to introduce yourself, or maybe I should go first? This is he goes by Gregory McFinnigan,
Is that
British
better?
underdog. He's a friend of mine. He was a competitor. We've played together a lot. This is my brother, dude. He can bring his unique perspective of this whole thing as somebody who's not from the states, but is from a whole country, other country altogether. Which is why I decided to invite him along, and that and just moral support because Lord knows I need it for this thing. But he has a unique voice that he can tell. Uh, would you like to tell the people about yourself a little bit, just so that they know, a bit more of who you are?
Oh no, did his mic go out
His mic
again?
die again.
Oh no.
I broke it and then refixed it. It's fine.
There we go. There we go.
Am I loud enough now as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Well,
Yeah.
You're perfect.
Ah, good, excellent. Sorry, man. New mic. It's all it's all falling apart. Yeah, I started taking fighting games seriously in like Ultra Street Fighter 4. I didn't play. I played Arcade Edition, but I didn't really, I didn't really care for it. Whatever. But I'm kind of on the outside now. I don't take any game too seriously these days. I play a lot of Tekken, but it's kind of weird the whole situation because most of the like I said, I'm on like the outside looking in a lot of time,
Yeah.
especially perspective because most of this stuff is pretty much restricted to the States right now.
Yeah.
No one from the UK really, as far as I'm aware, has been called out on anything.
I don't. Yeah. As far
But
as
also
I'm
just
aware.
like, yeah, thank God. Just like the less people, the better, obviously.
Yeah.
Like,
Obviously.
but obviously, it's so easy to say it's better to have less people called out. But I guess
Yeah.
it's I'd rather have them called out than not. You know what I mean? Obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not-
No, it's better to not have victims. Is probably what you should say.
Yeah.
Instead.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's better to not have people being
Yeah.
affected negatively by actions.
Yeah. Not having victims in the first place would be great. I would not be surprised if there are people in the UK, but they haven't spoken out because they're scared.
Yeah.
But I like if
Because
I really hope
See-
that everybody else is just like, no, this is an American thing. We're fine over here. I would like. It would hurt our pride a bit as an American, but like honestly, I would rather that so much more. I'd rather
would-
like thank God there's no more victims anywhere else.
I wouldn't be like entirely surprised because of how many, how big the FGC is in America as compared to,
Yeah.
like in Europe, especially UK. We're kind of restricted to a few cities. It's just not big a thing as big a thing with like, with like arcade culture and stuff.
Yeah. Arcade culture. By the way,
Really.
could you repeat that for the people? I got what you said because I was able to put together the context clues, but you were cutting in and out, and I don't know if they
Oh.
entirely. I can put subtitles in the YouTube version if I need to.
What up to like where?
Oh, before you said the arcade version, you're talking about there's it'd be more surprised if this was a U.S. thing since it's so big in the U.S. because there's not a lot of things in the
because
UK.
because of like arcade culture, it lasted so much longer in America.
Yeah.
Like the FGC is a bigger deal out there,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't be surprised if more people. Yeah, just because of the size of the FGC out there, if it was a more of a stateside issue.
Yeah.
Like a worldwide, like especially in the UK, we kind of have a small. Yeah, we obviously have a smaller FGC, a smaller community for fighting games in general than America. So it's probably going to be more of a problem stateside than here. But yeah, it affects everyone nowadays, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Am I still breaking up a bit, or am I?
Just
Okay.
just a little bit. You're good for the most part.
Yeah.
Don't know why that is.
It's. I think this is not you this time. I think it's because you're like in the UK. Like you're literally a whole country
Oh.
away. It's probably like
Okay.
issues from the
That could
long
be
the
it.
long distance, most likely.
Oh, okay. As long just the amount of problems I've been having, you know.
No, that's fair enough. My guy's been just for context. This guy's been here the entire time. He just couldn't talk. So you only now hearing him, but he's been here the whole time.
I thought it's. I was like, okay, I don't know what the problem is, and it's because I had a bunch of like noise cancelling stuff.
Oh no.
So it just made me. Like all the settings in Discord are like echo like removal and like audio balancing settings. I had to turn all that off,
Yeah.
which was real weird.
Yeah, I just kept hearing his voice. I was like, "Am I hearing stuff?" Because I didn't see the light pop up
Yeah.
for his name or anything.
Yeah,
So I'm like, I'm hearing voices.
There was times when I just heard his faint British voice in the background. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I was like fucking. I was legitimately shouting at that point.
I'm glad we got it fixed. You can't really do anything about the internet because that's more a distance problem. But like, yeah, you can just make you repeat things if you need to. So
that's alright.
yeah, now that she's
That's just that's unavoidable. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah. So yeah, now that we talked about that, going back to the topic about like what we can do about sort of the fans and also making sure that this doesn't happen again. Where I put forth the have the big companies be a third party investigator and also have more surveillance and stuff to make it safer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your thoughts on that? Because I know I heard from Brian already. Daquan, I also haven't heard from you what you think about it. If you don't feel like talking, that's fine. I just wanted to know if I could get your.
Like I said, I don't know about it. See.
That's fair, dude. That's fair. It's fine. Same for you, Gregory. Just
I mean, with like companies getting involved, I just hope they don't get involved in other stuff as well. It could be like, I know it's like not what everybody wants to think about right now, but it could be a slippery slope of.
yeah. No, that actually brings us into a
like,
different topic.
FGC.
Oh yeah, my God, that was the greatest segue into the
Thank
other topic.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It was intentional, honest.
Yeah. Because the other topic was esports versus code of conduct. And to summarize that for the people who don't know what's happening there, for a long time the FGC has been very wary of esports as a clean image that we have taken on to appeal to a wider audience, and has had the cost of our soul as a grassroots movement started in the arcade. They feel like we lost our heart, and I agree with them to some extent. In order to appear more normal and get rid of the stigma that we're just a bunch of like losers hanging in our mom's basements, and be a more legitimate like sport and be taken more seriously by the general public, we had to get a cleaner image, and that resulted in losing a lot of what I thought was the heart, what other people feel was the heart. So they're already like we lost Mike Ross over this, dude. So we're already like very wary about esports in general. It definitely made the scene a bit more boring. We still have our moments, like Tokido, that was still hype no matter who you are, esports or not. That was the hypest thing. The bigger venues are great. And there are benefits and like pros and cons to this. But for the most part, people are just wary of esports because they felt that we've lost our heart, and I can agree with that. So I get where they're coming from. But now here's where the problem lies: is that people are like, we need further policing to make sure that this doesn't happen again, which is why I was putting in the third party thing with those companies, and they pushed back against that. And people right now are just like, how can you not want people to not like touch children? Why are you pushing back against that? So that's why I'm sort of playing both sides. I agree that we need like a code of conduct, a universal set of rules for everywhere, but I wanted to be able to put forth that the opposing view side first so that people understand where they're coming from. I say we, but I really don't. I watch Code of Conduct. I do not like agree that we should have it. But I wanted to say yeah, this is what they're feeling. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it was just a random comment. I just hate how wanting to have a set of rules to make sure everyone's safe is now like a whole political thing.
Yeah.
It's just, I find that very dumb.
I mean,
yeah.
For lack of better words.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Once again, I am all for. I feel like I'm saying this like as somebody who's like trying to look better. Like, hold on, I'm not a rapist, but like, no,
But
that's not what I'm saying.
You
What I mean is, I'm just trying to show that like I get where the other side is coming from, and I'm trying to like humanize them and show like, hey, this isn't just them being stupid. This isn't just
yeah,
them like being like, oh, what you want to protect children? Nah, like that's not where it's going. There are some people that are like that, and
yeah.
honestly, like if you ever see this video, go screw yourselves. Like 100% from the bottom of my heart. But there are people with more legitimate concerns that's like, hey, I've seen us just lose our heart in this whole esports thing as we try to normalize ourselves, and I've seen us lose what makes us great and a lot of it, and the FGC is more boring because of that, and it's less engaging because of that. And this would be like maybe a final nail in the coffin, or maybe a slippery slope, like Gregory just said, towards it being even worse and us losing more of ourselves. Uh,
But I would argue the fact that then what are the point of the locals then, or
yeah,
starting locals in your community? Because you could still keep that fire that you have for the
yeah,
FGC community, but you could just keep it locally, and then just leave the whole global like fighting game scene to be professional, just like how every
Yeah.
other like sport or other thing has it. You know what I mean?
yeah. That's very true. That's a very true point you bring up.
But
Also, like
local teams are
I'd
really
rather like I understand where they're coming from, but I'd still rather us lose a bit more of ourselves and maybe keep it in the locals than have children being touched. Like I'm weighing the options. I'm more like I'd rather protect women and children and men
Yeah,
because it happened to a boy too. I'd rather protect
yeah,
everybody, like give a voice to the voiceless, than like want to do it just so we can protect our arcade roots. I'm
But
sorry, Eris. I'm sorry, everybody else that like wants to really protect our culture. I understand where you're coming from, but I would just really rather not uh
well,
let people be in danger. So I'm all for it, but I wanted to like let people talk.
I
Uh,
mean, that's just like another example in real life. Like, I get it. Like, it's part of culture, but cultures evolve over time. Like, I guess an example I can give is Columbus Day. Columbus Day isn't really celebrated anymore. You know what I mean? Because now everyone's educated on the fact that, oh shit,
he was kind of a
this guy, this guy isn't a hero.
yeah,
This guy did some horrible things. So why are we celebrating it? We should just not do that in general. And
yeah.
lo and behold, it's not a thing anymore. I remember back in the day when I would go to school, that would be like the main topic of the day. It's like, oh, it's Columbus Day. He discovered America.
yeah. So
So I
to play like devil's advocate on the side of people who don't want the I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can see where they're coming from on the side of
yeah,
do we really want more interference from Capcom or like for example, right? Just for example, in the Pro Tour for like Street Fighter, do we want more like corporate interference? I could see why people don't want it,
yeah,
but if our only two options, if it's either A, we let predators loose in our community, or B, we have a bit more of a corporate side again. We let a bit more, of like the Capcoms and the Bandai Namcos into the FGC, like give them a bit more control. I'll take the corporate control, you know.
yeah.
But
No,
if there was a third option, it would be fantastic. If we had like people we could trust in the FGC and be like, oh hey, but we already proved that it doesn't work. With Mr. Wizard, for example,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
yeah,
For I don't know how long, 50, 20 years, I don't know. And look how that turned out.
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
It's a really a horrendous situation with very little good resolution. Um, but if the best resolution or the worst thing we have is Capcom and Bandai Namco and whoever else are going to be a little bit more involved, then I'll take it. You know what I mean? I'll take that over the alternative, which is allowing this to happen again. Maybe I hate another decade, and another 150 FGC members go get outed as predators because we allowed it to happen again. That's the worst case scenario, isn't it?
I'm with you, and once again, like I don't want to demonize the people who don't want it. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I understand your pain and your worries. Like you do not like it. Our options are literally we let pedophiles loose, or we have Big Brother watching over our shoulder and never letting us do anything fun. Like those are not good options. But personally, and I feel we should all like really feel like we'd rather like get the people that aren't good for our community out of our community. If that means Big Brother kind of cracking down on us a bit more, like I feel like has anybody watched Avengers Civil War? I feel like I'm the Tony Stark here right now. Like, hey, we need more regulations. And Cap's like, where's our freedom? That's literally what this discussion is. Like the people who are like, no more esports are like, where's our freedom? What happens when things aren't like Capcom's is going to really mess with us. We're going to lose our heart here. And I'm sort of more the Tony Stark that's like, no, we cannot be unchecked. We have shown that when we're unchecked, we are dangerous. We need to have like regulations. The government needs to step in. And by the way, Milk just said something. I literally just saw it. Sorry. So let me read that out. So Milk said, these rules already exist. They're called the law. What is another step to enforce it? If it's not working, you step up the security. People have this delusion that having this security be more controlling is the equivalent of a police state. I can't read right now. I'm sorry. Is the equivalent of a police state. That's not what it is. It's the system in place that already exists to stop this predatory behavior isn't working. So you crack down. And I understand that, but like literally look at Black Lives Matter. Like we have I'm sorry to keep bringing that up, but it's such a good allegory as to how that might like go wrong and how absolute power corrupts absolutely. Mr. Wizard was the law. Like he was like okay, let me not say that. But like
but he was the head of the
head of the thing.
Community.
He was the dude who's supposed to be policing. He's the dude who was supposed to be cracking down. He was the guy who's supposed to enforce the law, and he was corrupt, much like our cops. And so when the people who are supposed to protect you are in on it, what do you do?
It's a little hard to fight against it. Yeah.
Yes, it's a little hard to fight against. So I'm sorry I keep on like comparing it to the current political movement. I'm sure a lot of you that don't agree with the movement, or well, first of all, I'm black, so fuck you. But like that don't agree with that movement is like are exasperated by that. But it's important to talk of like it's a really good allegory as to why like people are worried about that. Like so it's hard to say just believe in the law and let them do their job when, you know, the law is the one that's corrupt. So he says, well yes, but mob justice is just as bad. Honestly, probably worse. Because then it's just the masses operating entirely on emotion, enforcing their will on the moment. And that's actually probably the greatest segue into the third and final final topic. Milk really went in on this. Because the third and final topic was jail versus in-community, which I see Brian is already reading. I see his cursor over it. And it was like, people are saying these people have committed real, actual crimes, and for justice to be done, there needs to be consequences for actions. But the debate right now is if the destruction of their career is enough, or if they need to be taken to jail. And the pros and cons of that is, hey, like once again, we built up all this thing, and we're already losing trust. If we send these dudes to jail, it's gonna make like national news or something. And the stigma that we finally like shed off about us being like looking homeless losers or whatever is going to be worse. Because of like we're going to say like, oh, Smash players, they don't take a shower. It's going to turn into, oh, Smash players, you mean the pedophiles? See,
yeah, because we saw what happened with the Minecraft community. For the longest, people didn't play that game because they're like, oh, you play that game, the game where like that guy talked to those kids. Yeah, you're weird, and you're like, but I just want to play my games, man.
Yeah,
that's what I want to do.
Yeah, so they're like, hold on, let's try and keep this in the community. So, like we still need to do justice. They're not saying that we shouldn't feel justice, but they're saying let's keep it in the community. Having their careers destroyed and never letting them back in should be enough. Because if they go to jail, it'll just make things worse. And then we have the other camp that's like, no, they broke the law. They touched kids. they need to go to
Hey, dude,
jail.
well, children
Like,
don't
Which
it
I
has to happen.
personally agree, because like
Yeah.
no one's above the law. No one should be above the law. That's
Yeah.
why it's the law. It's rules set in place. Like, hey, if I shoot him, then I go to jail. It doesn't matter if I'm the president or if I'm the champion of the world. You still go to jail for doing such a thing,
Yes.
which I believe should be the case. Even if that
Exactly.
sacrifices our image, then by all means, I don't care,
I,
because it
I
needs
don't
to
see
be
how it
done.
would. How would it? I don't know how it would sacrifice the image. Like, I
Well,
don't
'cause-
understand the point of view. I guess.
Well, some people
Like-
like I'll like the thing I gave earlier, like the whole Minecraft thing. People stopped playing the game. People stopped investing their time into it because someone came out for being a sexual predator, and so that the image was tarnished of, oh, it's a happy-go-lucky game that you can play with your
Oh.
friends. Stuff, yeah, exactly like that.
Oh,
yeah.
I see what you mean. You're just like putting it more in the public eye is.
Exactly. If we go
Yeah,
to jail,
I
it'll
see.
be more-
I see what you're
yeah.
saying. I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. I genuinely, yeah.
So, like,
Um,
as the facilitator
yeah.
and the guy who's trying to like bring up these topics, I'm trying to show both sides to show that it's not as black and white. Because I'm sure there are people
Mhm.
that's just like, he broke the law, go to jail. Why is this a topic that we need to discuss? But it's to convince the other side and show that it's also not as easy as that. Like, there is
Yeah.
nuances. It's going to hurt us. Putting these people in jail is going to hurt this community. But it is my personal opinion, and I'm not gonna speak for everybody when I say this stuff. When I say like this is my personal opinion, this is what I believe. I'm speaking just for me. So if y'all don't agree with that, like I get it. But it's my personal opinion that they do need to go to jail. They broke the law, and there needs to be consequences for actions more than just losing your job. If you do something that breaks the law, you need to, because there's victims now. Like, we need to show we are not messing around with this. This is serious, and we need to treat it seriously. They need to go to
Exactly.
jail. And I understand that it's going to hurt us. I do. I know the counter argument. I literally was just playing devil's advocate and like putting it out there. I know how it's going to hurt us, but I still believe justice needs to prevail over everything else. The law needs to prevail over everything else, unless the law is wrong. But in this case, it is not. They were touching.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just closure as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's closure for victims, which is
Yeah.
very, very important. You know, if nothing else, it does that. You know, even if it doesn't, the person who gets sent to prison or whatever, and yeah, at least it's a bit of closure. It's a small, it's a small, a small piece of closure or whatever, but it's there, isn't it? It's something. It's justice at least worked for once.
Yes.
Yeah, as opposed to them just like people like Mr. Wizard or whatever, like especially people like him who are like huge figureheads, getting away with it.
Yeah.
But there's also the issue of I don't know how easy it would be, or like how impossible it would be to bring certain people to justice. Like how easy is it for them to just disappear? It's just the internet, you know what I mean? Does anybody? I don't know. I've never been to like a big, like an Evo or anything. Like, do people know where like players live and stuff? Does Evo know where? You know what I mean?
Oh.
Do you have a billing address for your prize money?
Okay.
I don't know how it works. Like, can you find players
This would
that
be one
have
of
done
the-
this? Or?
Yeah, this would be where Scrappy would come in, since he actually like works like as a volunteer and those things, so he knows that stuff. But he's not here yet, so that's
Fair
so, like,
enough.
yeah. If he ever came in,
I'll
that's
hold that
like
question.
one of the questions you should like ask him, because then he'd be
Fair
able
enough.
to answer that with like
Yeah.
some authority. Because I don't know either.
Okay.
That's why
I'll put a pin in that
Yeah,
for
like,
later.
write it in the Discord so you don't forget it or something. That's why I wanted to have a wide array of people, so we can get all different types of people that know what they're talking about to be able to discuss and have the best road forward. And also, there's been some people saying stuff in chat. Let me read it out first. Sorry to put a pin in that. But one of the things is I actually forgot to ask what the question was, which was how do we do we send them to jail or take the take on the potential consequences that can have for the wider community as a whole, or do we like keep the punishment within the community to lessen the blow of the community within the eyes of the public, but would let the abusers off easy and will be letting down the victims? And I think we're all in agreement here, unless Daquan has a different opinion, because I haven't heard from him, that we should all send them to jail. They like, and not as a meme, but like they need to go to jail.
I agree with what what Milk is saying in the chat, because we do need to force that. Like, hey, this shouldn't even be like an afterthought. This should just be ingrained to not do this. So
Yeah,
I'll let you read what he said.
Yeah, let me read it. Well, first he says, I got a lot to say and 100% want justice, but I'm an insane person. You don't want me in there. Milk, we would have loved to have you in here, dude. I thought that you wouldn't want to be a part of this, which is why I didn't ask. I'm sorry. Like I was figuring because you have friends in the gaming community, and I'm sure this affected you personally as well. And I was like, you know what, Milk already goes through so much. Let me not make it worse. Let me not bring him in here. But
I mean,
seeing
Milk,
you active,
if you feel comfortable coming in, you're more than welcome to come in.
yeah, man. If you feel comfortable, I'll send you a friend request and bring you in, dude. Yeah, but if I'm seeing how active you are, and I'm like, maybe I made the wrong call. I would love to have you in as somebody that could also talk about this. Remy says, one of the foremost concerns should always be prevention, not just how to provide justice, but how to prevent it from ever happening again, which is why I said third party, Capcom sanctioned investigators, third party investigators for this stuff, and more surveillance. But and people are already doing stuff they're having no alcohol and a separate tournament for children, and the children have to have adults with them at all times. So there is
None of that,
stuff, and I want more
you
things.
get Hugo shirts anymore.
What was that? Sorry.
Which, by the way, Controller Chaos is going to basically plummet because of that.
Yeah. And then
who the hell would buy that?
And then Milk follows that up
Someone
with,
was like, "Hey, I bought me a new PS4."
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just being dumb again.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
But if you want my honest opinion, I'm glad they're making these new rules for these tournaments. Because a lot of younger people wanting to be like the people that they grew up watching.
Yeah. Agreed.
And just just kind of cut back on the adults.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. All right, so another thing is
it'd be better.
Sorry, I keep cutting you guys off. I'm sorry, I don't mean to. I keep thinking you're done talking. So Milk goes on to say, enforcing the law is important, but getting people to follow the law, or even aside from the law, act upon the general society agreed upon morals. If you don't believe in universal morality and acceptable behaviors to begin with, getting them to do that to begin with is the end goal. I mean, I'll hop in if you want me at any time. Sure, come if you want me to sit down. Yeah, sure, dude. I'll get you in the Discord. But oh, Freddy's here. Yo, Freddy, I appreciate you. Sorry, dude. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying. I would send him an invite if I could, but I don't have anything.
Yeah, I'll do it. I got it.
You don't have anything. How are you talking?
No. I mean, no. I mean, because this call's in a DM. It's not on the Discord. That's why I'm not able to it. Because Nick is the.
Oh yeah, Nick's the
owner basically of the DM. But yeah, I guess one way we could try doing is educate the people.
Okay, but then sorry to cut you off, but the immediate thing that comes to my mind when I say that is during Fortnite they tried to have a Travis Scott concert type thing that is just literally a black guy talking about what Black Lives Matters is, why the police brutality is bad, and literally what is happening is there are kids throwing tomatoes at the screen and booing. And it's the funniest thing to watch, but at the same time, that shows that people don't want to be educated. They don't care. They just want to play their game.
That's the thing. They need to be educated. Exactly. That doesn't matter if they want to. They gotta be educated.
If you try to force them, because they were I'm going to hop on and play with my friends, and they instead get brought to this immediate Travis Scott concert that's just a black dude talking about what Black Lives Matter is, and they're like, I just wanted to play video games. I didn't want this, and they were throwing tomatoes and stuff. And it's hilarious in concert. It's a giant meme that was not the way to handle it. But it also showed me that people don't want to be educated, especially when they just want to play their game. People don't like that we're talking about this serious issue. They just want to play some fighting games with their friends. And seeing Evo going off and all these victims, they're victim blaming because they're inconvenienced. And if we try to then try and educate them on misogyny and shit, they'd be like, I just want to play some Street Fighter. And that's sort of a problem. And that's where I'm that's where you have to start. And I'm sorry I cut both of you off in there, but I wanted to get that point out. Go ahead.
That's fine.
It's okay.
I think.
Yeah, you are right. Because sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, you can go. Sorry.
Cheers. I don't think the problem is people don't want to be educated. I think people just don't want to be preached to, right? I don't like people like. It sounds kind of. I haven't seen the meme or whatever or like whatever this is, but it sounds kind of patronising. Now let's all stop and talk about the Black Lives Matter. It's like that's not the way to do it, is it? Don't
No,
talk down to
exactly.
me.
Exactly.
Don't do
fair.
that.
That's fair.
You've defeated your own cause. Is what you've done. That's what you've.
Yeah, that's fair too.
You can't
That's
just
the-
be like, oh,
Hello.
oh, guys, let me stop your shooting and let's talk about
Everybody stop flossing.
stop
Okay.
boogieing down. We gotta
All right.
talk about.
I got Milk in here now, so he's in here.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Also, I love your last reply before we finally got you in here. No, clearly people don't want to just only play fighting games with their friends, or no one would be touching kids. Okay,
I mean,
fair enough.
not
like,
wrong.
if anybody's justification is people only want to be playing fighting games with their friends, if that is literally their only argument to prevent a seminar about why sexual abuse is wrong, then I think I need to point out, it's like, oh, everybody just wants to play fighting games with their friends. Okay, why was somebody touching this kid? Why was somebody sexually molesting this woman? Why was somebody doing this? They clearly didn't just want to play with their friends. They clearly wanted to be assholes who shouldn't be here.
It's fair.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, like, if you're talking like, wait, in what sense? Like, do you mean like those people shouldn't be talked to, or that the larger masses shouldn't be talked to about, like, because the larger masses aren't really the problem. It's like a few individuals, right? It's
I
like,
mean, obviously, it's a few individuals, but I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it comes down to is like, oh, nobody wants to be preached to. Well, yeah, that's a given. Nobody really wants to be preached to unless like it's some cause that they themselves are an evangelist for. But in which case, I don't see why we aren't all evangelists for this particular cause. Don't touch children. Don't sexually abuse people. But what I'm basically saying at that point, it's basically like nobody wants to do training before their job either. You still do it. So how about we just have a talk before everything starts? Even, and of course, increasing security and actually holding people accountable is also a part. But how about before everything starts, there is a discussion about the rules?
Can I also say something?
I feel-
really
Of the
quick?
venue.
Sorry. But I need to interject for two reasons. Curly is in here. Thank you for coming. This is a very serious discussion. It's not our usual. It's not our usual silly podcast. I apologize for that, but this is a very serious discussion. And FGC stands for Fighting Game Community, and it's part of the gaming community, which this is happening to as a whole. And then I wanted to react to your sentence that this is more individuals doing this, and yes, it is. But let's be honest, misogyny has been like inbred, like baked into the game community for a long time. This is not a new phenomenon, but this is like finally like having consequences now. But once again, I keep bringing up the Air situation. Airs, I'm so sorry. I don't hate you. I don't think you're a misogynist. Let me make that clear. But that was the most like coverage that got, where we finally like had to sit down and be like, oh yeah, there is definitely rampant misogyny in the gaming community, in our community too. And so like I can't say that it's like a few individuals. Like it's very widespread. The community as a whole does have a problem with misogyny. However, these people are the extremes of that. I don't want to make it sound like everybody's a pedophile and everybody's like a woman.
Yeah.
Like this.
I was less talking about the misogyny and more talking about the pedophile or the fucking terrible, or like the terrible like pedophile allegations we've had, in the FGC just generally. Like the misogyny obviously like has been a thing forever, and it's comes to the point where it's weirdly just accepted, right?
Yeah.
And that's obviously something that people. I do agree. You need to talk about stuff like that. But I don't know. It seems weird. It's like, to me, I guess it's the conversation about universal morality, isn't it? It's the philosophical question.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just so obvious, right? It's just like it doesn't even need to be talked about. It's like obvious. Don't harass women. Don't sexually abuse children. That's obvious. That's like don't do it. You
I mean,
weirdos.
Like,
Why
yeah,
is this?
Like, yeah, why
it's
is it?
bad.
It shouldn't be. I agree with you, but like literally, the reason
Yeah.
that these are even topics in the first place is because there is a debate. That I
Yeah,
agree
I know. It's like,
like,
but I was when I made the statement about like, oh, you don't really need to talk to people. It was more about like, I mean, I feel like talking about don't diddle children is a bit redundant to the overall masses.
I'm
But
sorry, I
like
just
the
looked over in chat and Fox came in to give like, I hope the stream's going well.
Oh,
And
God.
like immediately followed up by don't diddle children. And like, oh, what the fuck did I step into? Listen,
but like
this is
obviously
a serious
the
discussion about like our community
Yeah.
and
Oh,
trying
boy.
to clean it up because there have been. If I can explain it to y'all for a second, I'm very sorry for cutting you off.
that's fine.
So like, I want to explain it so people are not confused. To reiterate, there have been allegations of pedophilia and sexual misconduct within our community that have been coming up recently. Well, everywhere. It's been happening everywhere, but it's finally hit our community and it hit it hard. With a lot of figureheads of our community, leaders in our community being accused of it, and some of it being true and being even like having people like say that they did it. And this discussion right here isn't to condemn those people. Well, we are condemning them. They need to go to jail. But like it's not to condemn it, but to try and figure out like where do we as a community go from here? What do we do now? How do we like come back from this? Like what is the like we're trying to make a roadmap to recovery after such a absolutely community shaking event that's like destroyed a lot of people's faith in us. So we're on a panel right now with a bunch of guests and we're having a discussion of like what do we do from here? Like how do we tackle this? And we were talking about like how this should be common sense but isn't, and like actually that's all we were talking about. Kind of got a little bit off topic, but I feel like this was important to talk about. Just so that you understand what's going on. I'm sorry you had to step in the middle of that. All right, I'm done. You can continue. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead.
I mean,
That's-
sorry. I think the
no,
most
that's
important
fine.
thing is that the discussion is being had to begin with.
Hmm.
That's the starting point. The discussion about the issues is being had to begin with.
Yeah, even if it's just like throwing stuff at a wall
Yeah.
and just seeing what kind of feels like the correct solution. You know, even if you don't come up with the overall. Oh, this is the absolute best solution. You know, it's just good to have to get the ball rolling. If anything else.
Yeah, so we're all just trying to sit down, talk about the issues that we have in our community, not just from right now with everybody getting like called out, but also just in general, and trying to figure out okay, like what's the best way to move forward, like so that this doesn't happen again. First of all, but second of all, how we can also rebuild because we're going to lose sponsors, like we're going to lose trust in like figureheads.
Everything.
We're gonna lose everything. It's gonna be hard for a while. And this was just meant to be like, let's talk about this, let's come to a conclusion, and then let's figure out how do we like safely move forward to make sure this doesn't happen again and rebuild our community. Because I am disappointed. A lot of us are hurt, and I don't blame you guys, but I also don't want this to be the end of the community that I love. I love this community. I love the people in it. You guys have been there through my depression. You guys have been there just for fun times. Me and Greg still sit around and talk about the good old days. That's how old we feel. But that's how much
That's
this
that
is. We
boomer
love this
status
community.
right there, my guy.
And I would rather it not end because of this. So we're trying to figure out how do we move forward in a good and respectful manner. Yeah, and like I want to have like legitimate roadmap, not to just be we should be good and move forward. We should eventually recover from this. Let's have hope, but not do anything about it. Obama, but like no, like have an actual like legitimate roadmap. We can be like, this is the closest we could come to with a plan of what we should do next. Let's share this and have people be like, yes, this is what we should do. This is how we should move forward.
Obviously, plans and actions need to be taken, but the fact that the discussion is happening to begin with, one of the big things about that, the community is actually organizing and acknowledging things. It actually makes the fact that it's actually being acknowledged as opposed to being ignored like it has been probably for years is a significant improvement almost immediately, because when the community comes together and agrees upon this and is aware of this, it shuts it down and it makes them more wary and aware and practice safe precautions in the future. Obviously, changes still need to be done, But this in itself, the fact that the discussion and the acknowledgement is actually happening is an immediate improvement, because nobody's going to do it if the entire community is basically turning and looking at these people and being like, okay, no. Because the second somebody tries to do it now, then they're just going to get stomped in the face by about 15 different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is good because it was normalized, like you said. Like it happened so often, it became like normal, and nobody said anything anymore because it was like almost like school shootings. They're just like, that's just what happens here. But
And
now that it's
that's
like
not me
finally
saying.
been called out, like, oh, sorry, now saying now that's finally been called out. Now people are like, once again, no, this isn't normal. We shouldn't be doing this. We don't need to let this happen. So it should like now like get some flack for it, which is good.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to point out that misogyny was one of the topics, so we kind of really smoothly. I didn't even get to say that we smoothly had a segue into that. We just smoothly got into that.
The discussion of misogyny being basically ingrained into culture, it brings back something very important, which is the fact that if you go back to the whole way back, I'm sure everybody here remembers Gamergate without talking about the two sides of Gamergate and what was going on with Gamergate. Let's say for a moment, from a skeptical perspective, because I don't like using the term devil's advocate, because that just sounds like I'm taking their viewpoint like their viewpoint actually has a merit. Skepticism is like, let's say that they did actually have merit, and that, it was just about criticism. Okay, then why are people legitimately being told to go kill themselves and being threatened just because, they're women in the game industry? Because that's what was happening. Whether they actually did something wrong or not, why did it elevate to the point of, people getting told to go kill themselves or that they deserve to die or be murdered? Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And this kind of stuff still happens today. Whether or not there was an ethical breach or not, like that is some escalation right there.
That's the issue with having a movement with no leaders, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's have a big movement. Everybody's involved, Everybody jump in. No, it doesn't matter if you're a complete internet psychopath. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as like why, for example, like Black Lives Matter got kind of the reputation of it for a while got really tarnished.
Yeah.
Hijacked by people using it as an excuse to essentially commit borderline, if not actual, domestic terrorism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was like, oh, let's firebomb this McDonald's. Why not? But why? It's
Exactly.
it's just a movement got completely derailed.
You're right,
because
but it also like continued because I don't know if you know this, but then like the police started setting fire to their own buildings and vehicles in order to like say these guys are still dangerous in order to justify them using firearms. No, I still say that there are people. I'm not going to deny. Like, once again, if I love something and feel like it has merit, I also have to talk about the cons of it. And as much as I scream Black Lives Matter, like to people to like try and say we have a right to live, I also have to acknowledge, yes, people did use it for their own gain, and that hurt the movement. And now people, so when people say, they're a terrorist movement, I see where they're coming from, even though they're wrong. Like, I understand why they see that because of those few bad apples, as they love to say about the cops, despite it's mostly bad apples. But
I don't think it's necessarily a leader issue, though. I think the issue comes down to, let's take a moment, and I hope I'm not stepping into a minefield here. Let's take a moment and let's dismiss the ACAB movement for a second. That all cops are bastards. Let's dismiss that for just a second, because I don't want to go into that thing. Let's take a look at the police as a whole. The police are an actual organization with legitimate, like they're legitimate, recognized organization with structure and things like that keep it in order. Now, whether or not we think the police are corrupt and evil, whether or not we think that or not, as a majority, one singular person from the police can never be removed from the police, because it is a legitimate organization that they are a member of. The difference with the Black Lives Matter movement is it is not a legitimate like organization. It is not a legitimate like group with a social hierarchy. It is just a social organization. It's just socially organized people.
Yeah.
So anyone can come out and say like, well, they're not associated with us or whatever. And it makes it harder for that type of for the Black Lives Matter movement in that regard, and then it makes it harder for the police as well because, like, in the sense of, you know, nobody can be removed from the police, even if they never wanted that person there in the first place and somehow they got in and they turned out being a bad apple. They can't be removed from the police once they're a member because they were officially a member.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that also makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But it's harder to take that because the reason they say all cops are bastards is because like say the only thing I really have a problem with the way you said it was how you said like whether we can agree that the police are corrupt or not, and then like I was like,
Oh no
they
no no
are.
no no! I think I
They
said that
are.
wrong. The police are corrupt. The police are corrupt.
Yeah,
like
that's-
as an organization, there's a lot of, or rather, there is corruption in the police force. I don't
Yes.
believe the idea of policing is corrupt. The current police force is corrupt.
Yeah. So like I can't like I get what you mean, and like that's the reason they're like protecting each other is because they are corrupt, and that's why we want to defund them and like maybe like make things a bit better for everybody, including the police. And you keep saying that like it's just a few bad apples, but you can't say it's a few bad apples. We've completely gone from talking about our community to talking about politics, and I apologize for
But-
that. We went on a
This
tangent.
is a political.
But I can give you a segue back.
Okay.
It's
Like-
okay. It's okay. It was necessary because we were
Yes.
able to use that as an analogy of what's going on right now.
You
Yeah.
are worried about the fighting game community as a whole. There's a thing right there. Like
Exactly.
once you hit any of the actual organizations, it's hard to remove the idea that it's not the organization's fault because these people are members of that
Of the
organization. They're officially members. They're officially like, you know,
Yeah.
recognized members of this community that actually has like registration. At that point, like, how do you remove them? How do you say this is not representative of our community? It's really hard.
People have been actually saying that, like when somebody gets like accused, and there's at least enough evidence to suggest. But sometimes, let's be honest, like people have jumped the gun and gotten fired for things that weren't false, and then we had to like. That's why it's been hard to be like I want to figure out how to say this in the best way possible because I don't want to victim
Innocent till
blame.
proven guilty.
I don't know. Because I was saying that's why it's hard to be like, let's just believe all victims.
Yeah.
Because then some of them are ruining it for everybody else. Let's say that there's some bad apples in there that are making people be like, well, maybe they're all crap, even though they aren't, and a lot of people end up coming forward. And the going back to the topic about fan versus fan, where people are refusing to believe. That's like they're using those people as a result of this guy actually didn't do anything. This allegation was false. So what if this one is as well? Even though like the guy's already admitted to it. But that makes it harder. And I don't want to victim blame here and be like it's their fault. Like you guys should like you had all the right to come out, and we're glad you did because this is a difficult conversation that needs to happen. Let me reiterate that justice needs to be served.
It-
Yes,
But I'm
it's
just saying
and
why
really-
it's tough to like, you know.
I guess it's just safer to wait till be like, oh, okay, this allegation came out. Now let's wait for this individual to give their side of the story and look at both parts, and then come together as a community to be like, well,
Yeah. And
that
sometimes
doesn't
they
really
lied.
add up with what the
Remember,
yeah, it doesn't
remember Zero
add up
lied
with
like
the-
twice before he finally just gave up and said, "Yeah, I did it."
exactly.
Did he give out full statements?
That whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
but
I
we were
think
able to
the-
come as. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say that I think in this case the concept of justice is honestly an extremely confusing and mildly disturbing balance between who does the burden of proof fall on. Well, it's balancing between the burden of proof and mob justice at this point, and you have to balance between those two things, and it's kind of disturbing to think about. But that's the truth, because like one way you're being insensitive to victims, the other way you're being insensitive to the fact that there are some evil people out there, especially since the dawn of the internet. It has bred some of the absolute most insane people who just want to destroy lives just to destroy lives. And it's like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, I remember you.
I mean-
Yeah, we
And
talked
so
about
it's
that.
this delicate balance of
To-
something absolutely kind of disturbing.
Yeah, it is. Sorry.
play the. I will use the term "devil's advocate," but to do that, right? To say, you could say that it doesn't matter who. If you offend people along the way, it doesn't really matter as long as you get the truth and like actual justice at the end of it, right? Sure, people could offend or like
Could you repeat
discredit
that? I'm
real
sorry. You said
victims,
people
but at the
couldn't
same
defend,
time,
and then you cut out. Can you repeat that?
oh, you don't want to offend or like actual victims or like hurt actual victims, but at the same time, it could just be a necessary evil along the path of rooting out people who are falsely claiming that they are victims, right?
Yeah,
Which
and
is one of the most damaging things that anyone can ever do in this modern era is
That's
like
true.
is go, oh, this person did such and such, and then they go, no, I didn't, and no one believes them because mob justice.
Yeah.
You can look at like the example that pops to mind is like Tobuscus, the YouTuber. He didn't do anything wrong, but somebody said that he like sexually assaulted her, and it turned out to be completely false. At least to the best of my knowledge, because he's still around.
No,
But
it was false, but it did kind of come
yeah.
out that he can't keep his dick in his pants. Like,
But like, apparently,
Yeah.
you know, he's really bad at relationships or whatever. But he
Yeah.
didn't sexually assault anyone,
yeah, he didn't sexually
Yeah.
assault
and
anyone, so
it ruined his entire career.
it
right?
really did. Yeah, no, I understand.
And
where
like,
you're coming with that.
you've got to be infinitely skeptical in like the age, especially the age of the internet. You know what I mean? Like,
Because
these
anything can
days-
be fabricated.
it's such a balancing act of choosing
I think
who to believe.
I think the issue at that point is assigning the burden of proof, because if you say that you have to be skeptical, you're assigning the burden of proof to the victim, which technically, from traditional or what modern, even just modern legal perspective, that's where the burden of proof falls. However, in this case, the majority of victims are not lying. The majority of victims are not lying.
Yeah, that's
True, but
And-
if only one is, I don't know.
Also,
This
And
is
then
like
you go
a-
back to the whole idea of the few bad apples spoil the whole bunch, but you can't
Yeah.
let them spoil the whole bunch in this case, because justice still needs to be served for the people who aren't.
Please say
This
that
is a-
again louder for the people in
This
the
is a bad
back.
act of justice.
God, it's such a
Please
it's such a
repeat
can of
that.
worms, though, isn't
Please
it?
repeat it.
It's such a horrendous like.
It's an absolutely horrible can of worms that needs to be
It's
addressed
like-
by
But
actual
we gotta
professionals.
talk about this. Yeah, but we
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
talk about
It's
it.
like-
It's not
experts.
gonna get better.
Thank God
Yeah.
I'm not part of the legal system. I swear to God, like the amount of stress that must be put on like a judge is like,
Yeah.
oh nah,
It's
Yeah.
immense,
No.
yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll leave that to better men.
And
Remy.
Remy said, "Isn't Toby also on the spectrum, which made it especially difficult for him?" I don't know about that. Like, I
Like,
don't mean
he's,
I don't mean that as a I don't know about that, but like I legitimately like have no.
When you
I-
say the
I haven't heard
spectrum,
about
do you
that
mean like
before, so-
autism or?
Yeah, do you mean
I
autism?
think
Yeah.
that's what he's
Like,
trying
I've
to
never
say.
I
heard
think
that.
it
so
would
I don't know.
also. I think it would also be nice at some point, if this discussion comes up again, to try to get a female perspective in here as well,
I wanted to, but like I said,
Yeah.
India was
Different
unable
thing.
to.
from that point of view.
India was unable to come. I did try and get
Yeah.
as many like different people as I could, so we can have a wide variety of views that can like hash this out. But a lot of people end up like, unable to.
I'm just the world's most boring centrist, so
No, but that's good. We need
Fair
different opinions and different
I'll
views.
take it.
That's
Yeah.
why it's a discussion.
Yeah. So going back to like how do we like what's the roadmap from here is like it once again like what would make this a lot easier is surveillance. That's why I said a centralized third party investigator and lots of surveillance, like having more cameras, more security at events so that we can have better ways of keeping track of the victims. But the problem with that is not a lot of these allegations happened at the venue. Like they would go to an after party, they'd go to a bar, and then that's where it happened. And then like go right back to even if we put up like a bunch of security cameras, it doesn't matter because they don't happen like within the venue itself.
Yeah.
And then there's the problem. Therein lies the problem. So then it's like what what do we do here? And I think for that the better thing would be very strict guidelines on age. Like when I saw this on Twitter, and maybe taking advice from Twitter isn't always the best thing, but I feel like this is legitimately a good idea, and I want to put that forth in like ways we can prevent things. Is having people like have to show ID for age, and then they put like a glow stick wristband on them, so it's very visible if they're underage or not. So that they can't even use the excuse, I didn't know she was underage, or I didn't know he was underage, because it's literally on their wrist. And if you refuse to wear it, or if you take it off, you are being like talked to or kicked out. That way, we don't have like people will know completely well that they are underage, and that way like people can step in, and it makes it. So
Well,
if you see like two people leaving together that don't look obviously related, and like one's like has the adult wristband and the other one has a teen wristband, they're going towards the bar. Like you can be like, hold on a second there, chief. You know?
but even then, that still comes back to the whole thing that happened with Nairo and Captain Zack. Like Nairo willingly knew that Captain Zack was significantly younger than him, and then he still molested him.
Yes,
No,
but I
that's
think
what
I
that
think the
prevents
big
that we
issue
have-
is it prevents anyone. It immediately does prevent anyone from claiming they didn't know.
Yeah, and then it
Whether
also
they
helps with
factually
the-
knew or not, it immediately prevents them from claiming it.
Yeah, and yeah,
You're right. Yeah.
and then like on top of that, like we'd be able to, like I said, with more surveillance. Like if we look at the tapes and see once again like Nairo leaving with Captain Zack, and we see the wristbands, and we're just like, hold on a second there, buddy. Like,
Yeah, you're right.
then there's more
It has-
substantial evidence to show yes, he knew he was underage, and he still took him out.
Well, at that point, the issue with that is, at that point, you're going to have anyone underage have a chaperone.
Yeah,
Because then they why can't they if they can't leave with basically anyone, because not everyone they leave with is going to harm them, but if they can't leave with anyone, then they would have to have a chaperone with them at all times that is like documented. And while that sounds good in theory, that's a lot of extra work, and it might actually it would help protect them, but I think it might actually diminish the underage community, because I remember being 16. I didn't want to go there with a chaperone. I wouldn't want to go somewhere with a chaperone all the
That's
time.
true. No, I get that. Like,
And what would be the cutoff point? Would it be 17 years of age?
yeah, I think so. But
Yeah.
okay, maybe if
But I would say that anyone like 13 and younger probably does need a chaperone.
can we do
all
like a
times.
recap of what the ideas have been for like the roadmap? I want to write it down so that I don't forget after the stream. So that when
Yeah, of
we
course.
start, yeah. So what has it been? I believe I put forth the
Wristband.
wristband as well. So
separation of
age
groups
showing
and stuff.
wristband.
What'd you say, Daquan?
Separation of age groups.
Separation
Yeah.
of age
Tournaments
groups.
and
Yeah, they're
stuff.
already doing that too. So.
Okay, after you write that down, there's also a minefield that I want to walk across.
Oh no.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Okay.
No.
I said industry run third party investigations. And what else? What was the last one? So age showing wristbands, separation of age groups, industry run third party investigations. And there was one more that
Probably chaperones for people much younger. I don't think once they're
Yes.
15 or 16, they mandatorily need one, but it might be recommended.
Oh, that could
no,
be
more
good too.
security.
Yeah,
That's what
you're
I was
right.
saying. Like more
You're right.
like security. That's what I was talking about. So like more security and cameras, just to make it easier to go back and show. And this will cost like a ton of money. But once again, I'm sure like Capcom or whoever will put it forth if they know that they can keep.
I feel like the wristband thing is pretty cheap, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like more security and cameras, and then also Capcom run like third-party
Here's the issue with cameras. Usually most of those things would be extremely expensive or placed upon the venue itself, and you don't want you can't really alter the venue very heavily without being extremely expensive. So you'd have to have just cameras literally sitting on the ground, and I don't know how well that would work.
Or,
Yeah, no, you're
or
right
maybe on security? Question mark.
But here's the thing: we already have security at venues. The thing is, there's so many.
Oh
People,
no, no,
imagine...
like.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm thinking like security that carry cameras, right?
Like body cameras.
Like a body camera.
Yeah,
But
like
that,
police.
I don't know if that would be.
Oh,
That would that'd be a nice
preferable
workaround.
solution.
that would be a
Because you
better-
didn't have to alter anything. You just have a person just
Yeah.
walk around.
I mean,
Yeah.
how expensive is a GoPro or whatever?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go put it on security. Because what I was about to say is that security is tougher because like it's easier when it's a smaller place you can have security, but like once you start getting to evil levels of whatever, like I don't care how much you're gonna have to have a lot of security in order to like police
Yeah.
everybody because there's gonna be a ton of people there, millions of people, or thousands at least
But
in like
Us-
one area. So like
the
having security
minefield,
with. Sorry, go ahead.
the minefield.
No,
There's
go
a whole other underlying issue here that after the fact it doesn't matter. After the fact that these instances have occurred, when I say it doesn't matter, I don't mean I mean what I'm about to say doesn't matter. Clearly, the victims and all that, everything that has happened to them is horrible, and I hope they get justice. But what I'm about to say, after the fact, this doesn't matter. But before the fact, one thing we really need to remember is these people, some of them are absolutely just fucking evil. And then others are legitimately ill in the sense that we need to stop advocating to the idea and glorifying the idea of just outright, anytime any of this is ever mentioned, kill all pedophiles. They need to get help. If you experience attraction to something and you cannot help it, you need to get help. Because you cannot help what you are physically attracted to. That is just biological. You need to get mental help. You need to find a professional who is not going to say that you need to get yourself killed or castrated, and get help.
No, I get where you're coming from, and ooh, that is a minefield. Because I know there's people who are just like pedophiles deserve to die. End of story. But yeah,
It's like there's something psychologically wrong with them.
yeah,
yeah. It's
they
something
need-
that. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's something that I've always like. I've always been that camp. If somebody is attracted to someone, right, like a minor, and they've never done to, harm anyone or anything predatory, and they go out and seek help, it is impossible for them in current times, right?
Yeah.
So to repeat, because he kind of cut out there in the middle, he was saying that if somebody tries to go and seek help, if they're attracted to a minor, but they haven't done anything, but they try and go and seek help for it, it's pretty much impossible in current times. Just to repeat that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, my connection is not exactly stable currently. It's all over the place.
He's in the UK. Forgive him. It's like the internet's not going to be good. That's a long way.
Because facing actual facts here for a second, once someone hits puberty, it's biological, and it's a social thing that we have adapted to deal with. And at that point, in order to fit into the society and what is considered proper and what is still those people in their developmental years, even if they're past puberty, it's biological. However, it is also psychological, and you need to get help.
Yeah. So, what would we?
That's the issue. There's no place to get help for them, though.
And if it's before puberty, you definitely need help.
Yeah.
Extra help.
Right.
As Michael Jordan once said, stop it. Get some help.
That's the only problem.
Just to make lives.
There are places. They're few and far between. There are places. There are doctors who research this for a living, and it's kind of fucked up that they don't get to speak out on this more, because I think it would help a lot with the issue in terms of preventing it, which is what we want. Because what we're responding with is the aftermath, and we're just like, kill them. It's like, what? How about we prevent it from happening in the first place?
So then, what can we do as a community? Because I don't think we can fund having training people.
Psych evals.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
don't
think fund training people. To,
there's no way psych evals could be afforded before something like this.
Yeah,
I don't think it's. I don't think that's on
that's
us
more
as a
society
community
thing rather than a community thing. That's like a society.
Well,
we need to have a place
I
for pedophiles to get help.
I think not immediately suggesting that every single person who has ever experienced something to do with anything with this, just needs to die, especially if they haven't harmed anyone. They need to get help.
Yeah.
They need to go to jail too. Like let me be clear from clear.
Well,
Oh, the people who have done stuff, yes.
if
The
it-
people who have
yeah,
actually acted on it,
definitely.
yeah, they need to go to jail. The people who have not acted upon things, they need to get help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I completely
And
agree.
maybe they deserve to be in jail. Maybe because maybe they won't get help. Maybe they're pieces of shit. But I think there are parties who probably legitimately need help, and it's fucked
Yeah.
up to think about, but it's the truth.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but
Excuse me for like kiting in, but there's an update with one of the situations that's going on. I did put it in chat.
oh boy, what is?
Oh, let me look.
No.
Salem and Kirsch,
Did you-
the whole thing. Oh, dude.
I'm not familiar with this.
Encouraged with what?
This
Which
case.
situation?
The whole
Nyros or
Captain
zeros?
Zach
Yeah,
Nairo
Nairo.
thing,
Oh.
all that.
Captain Zack and Nairo. So he,
MVG just put that out maybe like a couple hours ago, talking about it.
Oh my god.
But they're investigating it right now. So, which I believe is that one, good on them for investigating, and two, this is what like organizations need, like
see, yeah,
deep investigations.
that's why I
into
was saying
what is
like
going on with
like
people.
industry run third party investigations, like they're doing it. But if they could do this like regularly, when like something happens, like have an investigation, it would be more helpful and be able to. And the problem is the reason that I say that and then couple it with more security and cameras is because it's hard for them because they just have to do a he said she said because there's no actual like helpful evidence unless they were like sexting minors or something like other than that like there's no actual evidence, so it has to end up being on like word of mouth and then they have to be like who looks more guilty here, and that makes it really hard for industry to investigate. So if we have them investigate the same way they did here but with body cameras as we said and more security, it would be easier for them to make a call, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. So good on them for like doing something about it, but just
In a
the
perfect
middle.
world, it wouldn't be as hard for people to approach things after it's happened to them, and they would immediately, go to the police and charge people. But sadly, it is really hard to deal with abuse and mistreatment and manipulation, and it lingers, and evidence goes away. And sadly, that's what we're left to work with, and that's just the truth.
Yeah,
Yeah. The
Yeah.
harsh,
harsh truth.
like depressing reality of the situation is we are left with a lot of time. Well, more often than not, we're left with hearsay and
Yeah,
just no evidence at all, and you've got to work with literally nothing.
Yeah, and then it's
I would say majority saying this person's a bad person and it happened to me, happened to this one, happened to this one. Usually that's a little more than nothing, but I get what
Yeah.
you're saying.
But when it's just
Evidence.
one person saying, "Oh, this person did this,"
They
it's
did.
like, well, who do I believe? There's two people here. No one has any evidence of the contrary.
And here's
or,
the thing. Here's what makes it harder.
Yeah,
I'm
of
sorry for
anything
cutting
happening.
you off, but here's what makes it
That's
harder: is the whole zero situation where the fans refused to believe he could possibly do it. So even with like, she did have very little evidence, and it was tough. And but like, it makes it harder to do it because then they're like, so I have this one woman's like hearsay that he did this thing, and then this man is saying he did not, or he only did like specific part of it, but it's not true for the most part.
Yeah.
And then you have an entire backing of fans saying he didn't do it, leave him alone.
Yeah, but here's something I can interject with. Usually, even though I was saying there are these evil people out there that lie about this, usually those people can be found out pretty easily if you do a deep dive
Yeah.
on them. If you look into them, usually you can find out that they're like, because they have a history of this stuff. They have a history of manipulating, lying, trying to get what they want. They are usually the people that will go that far to ruin somebody else's life for next to no benefit or just to see them suffer because they don't like them. They usually have a history of being horrible, manipulative narcissists. And it's easier to find them out. So more often than not, like I said, like despite me, offering this healthy bit of skepticism, there is still the fact that most of these victims are 99% probably not lying. They're just most of them are telling the truth.
You've got
I can almost guarantee it. I say almost because I'm not gonna put anything on here that I can be legally tried with.
It's it is really hard. It is a really, like I said, it's a really hard situation for anybody to have to make that call. But
It's like, seriously, if someone is that bad, you look into them, and if you can't find something about them, they are either and they're lying. They're either a mastermind fucking genius, or you're gonna find something eventually.
Yeah, generally, people who are like manipulators weren't always as good at it as they are now. You know, when they get when 2 years down the road, when somebody said, "Oh, this thing happened to me," or he tried to solicit whatever, then that's when they learn to get really good at it. But if you go into their past, it's like, oh, they were really sloppy 5 years ago. Yeah, and at least we can be thankful that that's an avenue of outing people. But yeah, I don't know.
It's very rare that actually occurs, and it has occurred, and I've seen it occur to certain people. That it came out that the people accusing them of things were lying. The timestamps of things disproved what they said, and then actual evidence proved this discussion never happened or whatever.
Yeah, and it's always like incredibly complicated. It reminds me of like the whole infiltration situation. Non-intentional rhyme, but I don't know what the official opinion is anymore, because I remember seeing his wife at the time, all the about him hitting his wife and domestic abuse and stuff, and then I remember he posted the legal document, and people there was a independent translation of it that people did of saying that he didn't do anything, and now people still the thing is on that. That's also another can of worms.
You cut out hard.
Real.
Yeah.
Real hard.
Oh god, internet.
Yeah.
So, sorry. A quick recap. The infiltration thing with domestic abuse. What was the verdict on that? Because I heard and saw proof for both things. Both.
In the end, it was agreed by the court. An actual court, that he didn't do it.
Yeah.
He was able to come back, but he'd already
by
that time had his life.
See, I saw that as well.
Yeah.
But why do people still say that he's abuser then? I see it all the time.
Okay, so because once again, there was evidence on both sides, but the evidence on her side was a bit more believable. And then also on top of that as well, it's very known that in cases like this in his country, and that sounds very a little bit racist, if I'm being honest. And I'm sorry, but I heard this firsthand from people who are from that country. So just so you know, I'm not making up assumptions here. I'm saying this on some good authority, but I'm parroting words here. I'm parroting the words back before people start trying to say, "Oh, he hates this country." But I heard from somebody from the that in that country, it is tough for the women to win cases like this, even when she's right. Which is why people hold on to the belief that he's guilty but got let off easy by the court.
Okay.
So that's why people are they're but in this country, it's hard for people who come forward with these allegations to actually win these cases, which is why they're the court could be letting him off easy because they do that all the time or whatever.
Okay.
And that part's paraphrasing. That part is not me. That part's not something else told me, but that's me sort of paraphrasing what could be the mindset of these people when they say that.
The reason I brought it up was that a lot of cases end like that, where it's just in this who knows sort of situation, and that's what I was trying to make, but I forgot because I cut out. Now I've lost my entire train of thought. But yeah, cheers to clearing up anyway. God, the internet problems are really killing my brain.
Yeah.
I think the sad fact of everything is all we can ever do is our best to prevent this kind of stuff. Because wishing for the idea that no one is going to commit some evil act, no one's ever going to hurt, another person, be it physically, sexually, financially, emotionally, whatever, in any extreme way, it's a utopia. It's not going to happen. All you can really do is your best, which is when some of these people react emotionally, I completely understand they are in a state where emotional reaction is probably all they can do if something actually happened to them. That's fair. I've been through situations from extreme, from like like let's go back to like my mother and my father. My father's a horrible person. I've been through reactions that were I could only react emotionally, but the thing is, we cannot we all have to be strong to not give in to the idea of something like mob justice to rule everything, because it's just as bad, if not worse. Your emotions cannot be the answer to every single situation, because then some people are definitely going to take advantage of that. Then the people that do want to lie and manipulate are going to come out of the fucking woodworks once that's the system.
That's true. That's
That's
true.
how,
Yeah.
So, but
unfortunately.
I wanted to touch on something that you said earlier, because you said that I agree with everything you said about it being like a utopian is not happening. But one thing that like literally the whole point of this panel and this conversation was because I didn't want it to just be oh let's try and do better. I want this to be better. We'll be okay, guys. I wanted to like come, like I said, come through with an actual plan. So by the end of this panel, I'm like, okay, you don't have to agree with us. You don't have to like our opinion, but here's like some like here's at least a legit plan that we can follow if you want to make tweaks to it to make it better. But here's like a 3-step process. Here's what we can do to make things better. Here's like an actual like achievable like
I mean,
roadmap.
I think that's what the measures that we were talking about implementing are for. It's not that we can't improve.
Yeah.
It's the idea. I think approaching this as some kind of absolute solution will cause more damage in the end than good.
No.
We have to realize that we always have to be aware. We always have to be on the lookout. We always have to be working to improve. Because if not, then it's going to happen again at some point in a different way.
Yeah. No,
There's
I
always room for improvement.
100%.
And what we're doing now is we are looking to make the system better so it happens to less people. And so that we have some sort of answer as to how we can improve this system, as opposed to just saying nothing. I get what you're saying. You don't want empty words of "we'll do better," and then there's nothing into what we're doing. Like the game companies that are out there right now, and Twitch specifically, who says, "Oh, we're looking into it," or even that message right there. There was recently the one you posted in Discord, right there, the white text on black background. Let's talk about that. The solemn JPEG. The Jimquisition recently did a video on that, what he called the solemn JPEG, where they will release this statement of just plain text on a plain background and say that they're doing something, but then, it's just to save face.
Mm-hmm.
Something needs to actually be done. Tell me what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's just so that we're not saving face, but actually like trying to come up with some solution. And hope like the idea is hopefully like if we do this, other people will start doing this, and maybe they'll come up with better solutions than ours. I'm not trying to say that we'll come up with the ultimate end all be all solution. That is not the point. But it's to at least have something there and that people can agree with, and that hopefully maybe even then if you don't agree with what we come up with by the end of this podcast, that's fine. Then do your own podcast with your own people in your own community and come up with your own roadmap. And then that way, at least we have options of what we can do based on your discussions, based on our discussions, based on everybody's discussions. I want this to be more than just saying we'll be okay. I want us all to talk about this, have this tough discussion that nobody really wants to have. None of us want to be here. None of us want to talk about this. Nobody here actually wants enjoys being here and talking about pedophilia and sexual abuse and having to have the hard conversation of this is rampant in our community and we need to do something. Nobody wants to actually admit that. But we come here because we know that we need to do better. And we're actually trying to do better. And if by the end of this you still don't agree with whatever plan I laid out, and you think, oh, Nick's stupid, he doesn't know what he's talking about, like none of these dudes do, that plan's stupid. gather your friends or your community members and do the same thing and come up with your own roadmap. Please, I implore
And
you. Go ahead.
for the victims, I'm not going to say anyone ever by name here, nor am I going to pressure anyone. But for the victims who do have the strength to come out and say things and the strength to do things about this, pitch your ideas. You are the one who might have some better context into the situation as to how to make it better so it doesn't happen to anyone else.
Yeah, please do. Like,
Just
please
give them to the people of your community that you do still trust.
Please do. Yes. Or give them to us. We'll try and add it into our roadmap because I'll be shouting this thing for the rooftop for a long time to come. Once this is finalized.
And I do think right off the bat that if it's not already a rule, anyone 13 and younger should always have a chaperone at these events.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know that might be one of the hardest things to do, especially because I've been to conventions before, and I know once it gets to a certain size, it's really not possible anymore.
Yeah.
But with these smaller game like game tournaments and stuff like that, I believe it is at the very least. But I definitely don't believe anyone like that isn't a teenager should be alone in these events. I just don't think that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that's actually not only is that if there are people of that age that have been affected, not only is that like a danger to them, it's honestly I hate to say that I hate to comment on people's parenting, but that's irresponsible parenting. Don't let your fucking kids wander around a venue alone with strangers, massive amounts of strangers. If they're like not at least like a teenager, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Do that.
So but the thing is, like you said, it would hurt the younger scene because they would have to, set it aside.
I think teenagers would have an issue with it.
Yeah.
Like once they're of a certain level of mental and emotional maturity. However, I don't think kids that are probably like 13 and younger are going to have that much of an issue with it because in most cases they're probably still being taken care of everywhere. However, for some reason, whenever anybody goes to a fun event with their kids, they're willing to let their kids run around and do whatever. And I wish it were safe enough to let them do that, but don't, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, can we actually come up with a system to actually like make things like legitimately make things better, to for the children. Like I know we've already discussed like separating age groups and also like having age showing wristbands. But is there anything else we can do? Because I know that if the better thing would be just have chaperones. Just have chaperones. That's like the best way we can do this. But
I
like
mean,
you said,
I
people are
do
not going to want
believe.
to do that. People are
Yeah, I
like,
do believe separating age groups is actually a really good way to look at it. But once you get into that, we have the issue of I'm sure there have been staff that have actually been accused. Like you still have to be careful of that, but like hold separate, like not just separate age groups, hold separate tournaments. Adults can be in their own thing. People under 18 can be in their own thing. There's enough gamers in the world. You may work.
Actually, I'm legitimately add that to the thing. Separate age groups have tournaments for different age groups.
It may also be like a net benefit anyway, as
Tom.
like not looking at as like only a prevention. It might not. People are going to look at it as like a negative, right? It's like, oh, we're making a session to make everything safer. But I don't know. Maybe like separated age groups could help in other ways. You know what I mean? Help the FGC in general.
That's fair. So, Tom, thank you for following. I'm glad you're here. I know it's very tough for you to be here and listen to this. So I appreciate you being here right now, my guy. Thank you. And Jeremy, we're not playing Black Box. We're having like a really serious discussion about some some serious topics, some heinous topics. But hey, next time I play Black Box, you're welcome to join in, man. And also, I wanted to apologize to everybody for still having my merch thing. It's on a timer. I'm not the one doing this, and I really should have turned this off for this because it's so distracting to be talking about these serious issues and then seeing like a link to my merch in the chat. I apologize for that. That was kind of tone deaf. I really should have turned that off. I just forgot about it. So far we have age showing wristbands, separation of age groups, like industry, and I put Capcom as an example, run third party investigations with more security and body cameras on security, which is the best way we could think about that. Chaperones, but I'm gonna put a question mark next to that because I know that that'll like really kill the younger community thing because nobody wants to come and talk trash with their mom in the corner, like right? Nobody wants to
There's
come hang out
also
with
Yeah.
the
their- talk
issue
trash with
of
their
like
mom.
space, right?
Yeah, and space. That's gonna be tough. And then have tournaments for different age groups. Because then you have to like for children tournaments, like you have to look at like how many people are going to come, and then like assume that they were going to bring their mom or dad or somebody that they know, and then have that like multiplied by 2 or 3. And that's going to fill up real fast.
Yeah, they're gonna be smaller anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
I imagine there's less young player, like actual younger than 13 players than there are like like teenagers and adults.
See, here's the like. I'm going to be the one to play devil's advocate this time because I actually agree with the
Alright.
separate tournaments and separate age groups. But my whole thing is that it's going to be like we're missing out on that higher level of play because you're not going to get as much uh, fidelity from a younger person, and if they have their own tournament, they're going to be missing out on the Daigo parries that are done by like because Daigo's like 30-year-olds, and you don't want or 40 now or something, and you don't want like
Yeah.
kids around in that venue. But then like you're going to be like, but they're missing out on what makes FGC great. Those moments because the higher levels of play are now sort of sanctioned off to just the adults, and that's a problem, right? That's a legitimate like
I mean,
problem. To see.
you would think so, but there are younger people
There are.
who are still sometimes better than the adults, and they
Yeah,
can
there are.
teach their younger audience themselves.
That's true as well. That's true. That's a good counter.
Okay.
I've been beaten
Like a
by a lot of kids at video games. Okay,
Fair.
I've played online modes and lobbies.
Luigi.
What wasn't Punk like 15 or 16 when he like destroyed literally everyone at Evo?
No, he was-
killed
He was
killed
at
off
least
like.
overaged by that point. I say overaged.
Wait,
Now
was
that
it?
there's an
Wait,
underage, there's an overage.
maybe I'm misremembering like him at locals or something because I
Oh
remember
yeah,
him.
no, but yeah, he was like
bursting
young
on-
when he started. And
destroying
he was
everyone.
destroying everybody. He was like 15. I understand what you're talking about now. But yeah, when
Yeah.
he did, when he like
Yeah,
beat
that's what I
everybody at
mean,
Evo, he was at least like by then he was like 20
He was, like,
something.
17, 18, right? He was like
No,
really
he
young.
was 20s at that point. I think.
Oh, was he?
No,
God,
he was like later.
I
He
thought
was
he
like
was
19
younger.
or something. He was at least over age. He was over 18, I think, at that point.
Oh, okay.
But like,
I
yeah, he
forget.
was kicking butt at 15 in locals. So
Yeah,
I
he
know
was
what
absolutely like he was mad. Right?
you mean. So I get
And,
what
like,
you're talking about.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Whereas like the younger, like
Yeah, like I
Like-
feel like the younger people like get together and be like, "This is lame. Why are we coming here?" like people are spamming. People are like mashing buttons. What are the adults doing? Oh, is that like a 15-string combo? Why am I not over there? Like, so like I wanted to like put that forward to like as like a counter argument that somebody might like legitimately like say.
I mean, anyone who's complaining about the button spamming is probably good enough to teach the rest of the kids.
That's true.
We're arguing that.
That is true.
you have a point, man.
That is true.
Especially because it's not just going to be like a bunch of 5-year-olds who've only held the game controller once. It's going to be
It's
people
not gonna be that
like
bad.
15, 16, of all ages that don't need
When
to be
will
around the other
cutoff
venues.
point actually be? Because like I get that there's points where like I wanted to just do like 17 is the cutoff point. Once you're 18, you're like a legally adult, so you can start playing with the adults. But at the same time, I realized that having like your little 12-year-old brother go up against a 17-year-old dude. But then I thought about it and like never mind because literally that already happens with like 30-year-old
Yeah,
dude.
that
versus
literally
the
already
12-year-old.
happens.
So like yeah, so never mind. Completely wash that point away.
Yeah.
But there was one idea of how we can handle the misogyny thing brought forth that I wanted to put forth like I had an idea, and this is untested. This isn't like I don't know if it'll work, and that's why I want to put it forth so that you all can debate about this and tell me, hey Nick, that's a stupid idea, or that might actually work. Let's add it to the list. And that is having a designated area, like females only area, but not. I mean, I don't mean as tournaments like having their own tournaments the same as the kids are, but I mean as like having a safe space that is heavily secured where like if they feel unsafe, because I was saying like, hey, if you feel unsafe, feel free to come to me. But what if you had that, but as like an official thing, where it's like, hey, here's a safety booth. If somebody's creeping on you, if somebody's like following you back to your hotel or something, here's a safety booth where you can either one like talk to somebody to like get them off your back, or two like sit there and stay there and have big dudes guarding you so that you know that you're safe from like people like
I
trying to
mean,
keep up on you.
isn't that what security's already for?
I mean, yeah, but
Yeah,
security like there's no
exactly.
like designated space though. There's security guards like around the place.
I mean, if you at that point,
So-
basically, what we're also asking for is probably more security and a security room where you can go and speak with someone privately.
Mhm.
So do people think that would like work? Should I add that to the list or? Like,
I
have a
mean,
security room?
most cons have like security rooms. Most actual like conventions. I have no idea how big these events are, because the only real fighting game community events that I have been a part of have been at conventions.
Mhm.
But most conventions already have like security rooms that you can go if you need to speak to someone about like a security issue, and also you can speak to people who work in security that are just anywhere in the venue. But if you really need to go to speak to like the head of security and someone, you know, in private, there's a security room.
Yeah. I also feel like having somebody that can watch your back, and that's I know that's vague. Let me try and like explain, because a lot of these things, once again, a lot of these things don't happen in the venue. They happen once they're going home or once they go to a party with friends
Yeah.
to a bar. So if we could have like some sort of system that allows them to be able to go to their hotel with like somebody that they know can like will keep them safe. So if they're like we're being followed, like they have somebody that can like step up, because I know in general, not even just at cons or whatever, but in general, it is very dangerous for women at night. I've had a lot of my female friends have to say like y'all are so lucky because like men can like go for a jog at night. Well, unless you're black, like then you get shot. But like y'all can for the most part go for a jog at night and like you'll be okay. But like we have to worry about like that we'll get like kidnapped or something by somebody, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like that, like they're like somebody posts like an image of a woman walking alone at night, and like the difference between the men and women were like astounded. Women were like, "What?" And like the women were like, "That is terrifying. That's a terrifying image." And I didn't get it as a man. I didn't like get it from that, but I was like, "Yo, you get shot." Like as a black dude, like as a man, I didn't get like how terrifying that was for women. But the responses like floored me, and thinking if we could have some sort of system to get them home safely, like maybe like maybe and like a designated Uber space where people can get like Ubers, and like have people like be like, no, like buy your ticket, but also bring money for an Uber there or back, unless you have your own car, so that nobody's like walking home from a local whatever and being followed like at night. That's dangerous, and I don't know exactly what sort of like that was just an example off the top of my head, but like could we like kind of try and figure something out for that, just so women feel safer as they go.
I know.
Oh boy, I had a terrible idea.
Oh no.
What?
No, I'm not gonna. It's not fitting for the mood. It's just my mind often comes up with satirical shit all the time.
God damn it,
I mean,
Twitter.
that's a everyday basis. Sometimes.
Actually,
I don't know if
that one's
there's-
not so bad. You know what? Just give out goodie bags at the door to anyone who anyone who could fall under the threatened party. And well, I guess that's
Like, it
technically anyone,
involves
because it
some
can
pepper
happen to
spray.
anyone. It could literally happen to anyone.
Yeah.
It's not just women. It's not just kids. It
That's
could
true,
literally happen to
So
anyone.
like I guess like a goodie
Um,
bag like it involves
yeah.
pepper spray, like a rape whistle or something in there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, you know, give
That's
pepper
like-
spray to anyone who feels threatened with that. But that was, you know, just a little jab at, like, you know, at the end of the day, if those people who are going to do something get pepper sprayed, whatever.
Yeah, but that's like a thing that only works in certain countries.
Yeah.
Over here, for example, pepper spray is illegal.
I was being a little bit. I was being a little bit satirical to say like I don't care if these people get pepper sprayed in the face because they deserve it. But that's not a legitimate suggestion.
Yeah, I got you.
I mean, if somebody wants to carry pepper spray and it's legal, I mean, go ahead. But the thing is that does not help solve the problem whatsoever. That just shows that the problem is bad enough that someone wants to carry pepper spray.
True.
Yeah, I don't know if there is like a tangible like thing, like an object or
I know,
place.
I know. Like you want us to come up with policies that feel like a solution, but I don't
think there can be.
Think there is one. Not that way. It is a case of doing better, and more importantly, don't do it in the first place, you assholes who have done this.
Yeah.
It's the case of not everything is
solvable.
You can't prevent 100% of all of any crime, right?
I know.
It's going to happen. That's just the harsh reality of it.
I'm looking at our
limited.
Topics. Like I don't know if you all are in the Google Doc, but like I'm just looking at all the topics that we can talk about, all the problems in our community right now. And I'm like,
I mean, I was legitimately like actually pulling up Google in another window, and I was looking for academic journals. I was looking into the idea of preventing sexual assault, but I can't remember any academic libraries off the top of my head that have actual, research. So I was trying to find an actual academic library to pull up some documents to actually offer some suggestions from, legitimate researchers, but I can't find an actual library at the moment. I'd have to do some digging to find one of my good ones again.
I'm gonna look for my university's library.
Yeah, your university should have one.
Yeah,
and honestly, looking at that stuff and looking at statistics and looking at information like that, that offers a lot to help with what you want, which is to actually institute change and see how these things occur, like to see the patterns and to.
Yeah. Because I know it's not feasible to like train people to be able to spot rape before it happens from like a mile away. But at the same time, like the reason I keep saying that I'm looking at all of these problems that are on this list and then going like I want to at least like come out with a solution to at least most of these. I don't want to because there's so many problems, dude. And I know it's probably not feasible for us to like come up with something for all of them, but like I want to at least try. I want to like say that we had the conversation. I want to do something about it. Uh-oh. Wonder what happened to Daquan.
Looks like we lost Daquan.
Yeah.
Oh, there he's back.
If I got called or something, it's fine.
Huh?
Like in the evidence folder.
But I mean, this issue is this is also not just an issue in the fighting game community.
Oh no, this is
and we need to be aware as streamers as well, because I'm going to say something that I probably shouldn't. Well, do you mind if I say something that I'm skeptical of saying on Twitch, but other streamers have already said that are much bigger?
Go for it.
It's about Twitch itself. It's nothing like
the
CEO of Twitch is not doing shit.
Look, if I get banned for this or whatever, I don't like.
I'll ban me too if you ban him. He should step down. Also. He is outright not doing anything about the allegations that have been occurring.
Damn, it's fair enough.
Yeah, even like minor things like the whole like, yeah, like you remember like the animal.
Yeah,
they don't care about like Twitch has like a very favoritism based ladder. Whereas, like,
I don't know my opinion on the animal thing. Like, I get the fact. Like, are we talking about the one who threw her cat?
Yeah, and fed it vodka or whatever it was. Yeah.
On one hand, like, I completely understand people's outrage. On the other hand, I refuse to believe 90% of those people haven't at one point, pushed a cat off of a table because it was in their way, whether it was reactionary or intentionally. Like, if it's it was reactionary, obviously. Not legitimately abusing the animal. She probably went a little overboard. However, I don't think that was nearly as bad as people made it out to be. It, like feeding the cat vodka, that was just that one's the one I have more of an issue with. Like throwing your cat out of the way and stuff like that. That's a bit reactionary, and I can forgive you for that. I can understand. Oops, the cat kind of got on your nerves, but don't do it again. But the vodka thing, she did it to get attention, and the cat can be harmed that way. You are exploiting your animal for views. You're exploiting your animal for views. That one I don't care for. If she didn't know and she did it in her own time off of Twitch, I wouldn't, I would feel a little bit of sympathy for her. But she's exploiting it for views, and she knew she shouldn't do that.
Yeah, she may not know, like, she may not know that it's like, oh, it's poisonous or whatever, but you must know that degree, like, even common sense will tell you, don't feed alcohol to animals.
Yeah, don't give animals alcohol. Unless there's something in the news that like says this animal can do this or that, and even then don't do it because you're not a fucking
like breaking news. I just saw something and I needed to clarify because I my heart dropped, but then it like came back up again once I saw what it was actually about. So the headline is Temple Storm offering support to victims in Zero after dropping him for sexual misconduct. And I was like, are you kidding? He admitted to it. Like he needs to go to jail. And I was about to like get really like on my high horse. Like I'm not even gonna lie. I got like really like upset about that until I read further and realized what they meant. They're offering to pay counseling for like the victims and like for Zero. And that's what we're talking about. How we need to like actually help the pedophiles like get better because that is a disease. Like we're literally just talking about that, and they're like offering like they're trying to help to pay contact to like pay for like
even counseling. If we need to put them in jail because honestly our mental health and our welfare is absolutely shit. Honestly, it would be nice if there was something in between a psychiatric hospital and a jail. But even if we put them in jail, they need to be seeing doctors while they're there.
Yeah, so
they need to be seeing prison psychiatrists.
Yeah. So good on you for like trying to help, and I appreciate that. And I'm sorry I almost like went off on you. Like I'm glad I read past the initial title. But and also just people like literally arguing about what we were arguing about in the comments, which is what makes me happy about like he needs to go to jail versus, but he also needs like help. Like,
I mean, like there's both. You can do both. The jails have doctors.
Yeah.
He should have. Even if it's hard and nearly impossible, he should have tried to seek out help. And the fact that he didn't, and then he went off on somebody else and hurt somebody or whatever, then he needs to go to prison. And then he can receive help while he's there.
Yeah. I'll give it that.
And gosh, like when I say it's bad on Twitch, I mean, does anybody here like watch a lot of YouTubers or used to watch a lot of YouTubers or Twitch streamers? Anybody hear what happened with Cry, Chaotic Monkey?
No, I didn't hear about it. I know
he got accused of grooming. Well, no, he didn't get accused. I'm sorry. He outed himself on YouTube.
Oh shit.
He confessed to it and said he was going to be seeking help or something like that. But my God, that was, still, that's fucked up. And fuck him.
I didn't know about that. Fuck. I used to follow him back in the day.
Yeah, June 20th, 2020, he uploaded it not too long ago on YouTube, a video titled "We Stopped Being Genuine a Long Time Ago." Like this stuff has been really big for the past like few weeks in Twitch, in the game industry, everywhere. It's just been an avalanche.
It's not even that. It's like I follow like a lot of wrestling accounts, and it's all over there. Yeah. It's all over some other like traditional media. I don't know. Like I've been seeing it from like every angle, and it's crazy. I don't know where it started, honestly. Like where this.
I mean, it doesn't matter where it started.
It's just for like
it's
historian.
It's not a singular instance.
Oh no! I mean, just for like historian purposes as to why it's all kicking off now. I don't know. Just curiosity, I guess.
Honestly, I wish that everybody who had said that, even the people who said that they couldn't come, I wish that everybody could have come to this discussion because I feel like there's a lot of good things being talked about, and I would have so much loved to have even more voices that are more in the know about certain issues be able to add in their 2 cents. Because like I feel like this is really good stuff that we're saying that we're discussing, and it would have been nicer if we also had like more voices to add to that to really make it feel more rounded. Because this feels like we have like half of the FGC. Whereas if everybody had come, we would have had like I feel like a full roster of people whose voices could be heard to make it feel more credible about like how many people are down with this. Well, let's see. Going back over what we have age-showing wristbands, separation of age groups, industry-run third-party investigations, more security rooms, and body cameras. Chaperones with a question mark next to it, and having tournaments for different age groups. As
And
like, yeah,
I want to say something about your investigation.
yeah,
Fuck letting the industry do it themselves. They're self-interested.
true.
It needs to be an external investigation entirely.
See, but here's the thing.
Like, and I know that's outside of our control, but here's the thing: we don't control the industry either. So we, as people who pay the industry, should at least advocate for the idea of external investigation, like completely external. Because if they do it themselves, they're going to cover up so much shit because they save face.
No,
especially if it's like staff.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right about that, and I get where you're coming from. But the reason is, like, somebody asked, like, where are we going to get the funding for that if we have to do it as like ourselves as the venue as the community? I was like, that's a good point. I was like, if Capcom does it, and here's the thing, you're right, they will cover up some stuff. They have their own agendas. I'm not saying that you're wrong at all, but the reason that I think that they will, at least for the most part, play by the rules. For the most part, I trust them at least more than I trust the fucking government. Like the reason I feel like they'll play by the rules for the most part is because they want to save face. So as soon as they see people who are a problem, they will like bring down the hammer and have harsher rules. But once again, the problem with that is that they will cover up stuff that make them look bad, and also like once again they can also like get rid of people that they don't like using their authority as their third party investigator. Which is why we need to have a system to try and limit their power. A system of checks and balances.
Yeah, I mean,
I imagine like not everybody in these big corporations are exactly clean. You know,
Yeah.
you can't just assume that everyone like if it's like a company-led investigation that everybody's going to be squeaky clean. But at least if it's like an external investigation, like a third party, then everybody's under scrutiny equally.
excuse me and my cynicism for a moment, but I want to go on a tirade.
Go on,
So,
Clancy Brown.
like, we want to talk about the idea that the companies are clean. Oh my God! You want the hammer down solution? They need a full. The game industry as a whole just needs a full, goddamn deep dive government investigation. These motherfuckers have done way more than just this, and it ain't even limited to just sexual stuff. Oh, it's gonna come for them eventually if they keep it up. They're pissing off everybody with the fucking trying to get around gambling laws, the sexual assault that's all coming out, the fucking tax evasion, the fucking money grubbing bullshit. It's all gonna come down on them eventually.
Safe now.
Eventually, yeah, nobody's safe. It's gonna be things are gonna get much worse before they get better. I know that, but I'm trying to at least like give us a road to get better, and I feel like this is a start. So my question is, how long will this? Because what I was waiting for originally, while I kept like kind of stalling while we talked about this, was because I was waiting for the people who know more, like Scrappy, who literally works and in the thing, and Ron, who runs tournament. He's a tournament organizer, to be able to come in and like give their 2 cents. Because I was like, then we'd have like at least a fuller roster within the FGC. Like the others can't be helped. Like Liam and Indy, they're like part of the wider games community, and Liam and Indy's a woman, so she'd be able to give a woman's point of view in that as well. But they couldn't come. But at least with like Ron and Scrappy, we'd be able to have that full like that sort of.
I'm sure if they came, they would do what they thought was right. But I do need to be curious here if they have any kind of NDA with their employers.
Oh, Ron, no, because he's like completely grassroots. He pulled himself from grassroots, so he doesn't have like.
I was just curious because I know a lot of these cases, like stuff starts happening, and it's like, well, you can't talk about it or you'll be fired, and I like.
Yeah, you don't want to put them on the
If
spot.
they're going to risk their job, I'd rather it be,
Yeah.
not because we asked them to and they decided to.
Yeah,
Even
no, that's
though,
true.
if they have something to say that is clearly being covered up, which is not what I am not insinuating that here. I'm just saying if they had anything to say that wasn't, just company details that obviously they can't say, but stuff, it should be their decision.
Yeah, no, you're right. Most of them actually wanted to come, they just couldn't because like
Okay.
they have like prior stuff. Ron at least like he had prior stuff, and he wanted to come, and he's at least he has sponsors, so that might like limit what he can say because like obviously the people who are literally like giving him money are watching.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he's like self-made. He gets all of his stuff through running his tournaments on Twitch. Like he's completely grassroots, which is good because then he can like more freely speak his mind than if we bought somebody that like might have Capcom breathing down their necks.
Mhm.
And Scrappy is like once again a volunteer, so he might need to like censor himself a little bit because like if he says too much and then he can't get a job at any of the tournaments anymore because the tournament organizers hate him or something. But he can still like speak his mind more freely because he's not actively working for somebody at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
I
he
mean,
has
if
insider
anybody,
information.
if anybody got fired for doing anything that didn't actually damage the company in terms of like some kind of business secret, and they got fired for speaking out against something like this, I guarantee you it would come back on the company anyways because that's a motherfucking bullshit move right there.
We would definitely raise some hell. Like
Yeah.
personally, me personally, like we definitely raise some hell.
Yeah.
So, but like yeah, it seems that they aren't going to be able to come anytime soon. So do you guys like have anything else to add, or should we start wrapping this up? And should we do a part two? Is my question when we have like when people are more available. Because like I said, a lot of these people wanted to come but weren't able to because it was so short notice. Because like it's Sunday, I literally asked them like Saturday morning, so it was like really short notice. I don't blame them. And then some people didn't want to come because they're like this is a sensitive topic to them, and they weren't like emotionally ready to talk about it, and I don't blame them
Yeah.
either. So
Um,
go ahead.
I think there's room for more discussion, though I don't know if it should necessarily be the center. Like obviously, like when this is the center of the things need to be taken in like a certain kind of stride where it's handled very maturely, very professionally, and not completely like there's no really like dismissive jokes or anything coming up that shouldn't be here. But I think there is room for more discussion on that and possibly what's going on with things revolving around this in general. I mean, I think not only is this discussion have more to do, but I think this just proves also that I think you can do more with FixerNet as well.
Yeah. This is definitely out of our wheelhouse. We're usually a very fun, informing podcast. We're a goofy thing, but I felt like this was important, need to be talking about, and that's why I decided that this is going to be a more serious episode.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's all kinds of gaming news, good and bad, not just related to allegations like this that we could always discuss as well.
Yeah. All right. So, I guess we should probably wrap this up. Unless does anybody have anything to say, like one last thing to add, or anything you want to discuss before, like we end this? We good?
I think we're good.
All right. In that case, thank you to everybody who came through. It means a lot to me. Please share this, or at least like I'm going to post probably in the description when I put this on YouTube, the what we came up with in the description. Please share it and like go to your locals, talk to your leaders, talk to your communities, and please share this like either the video or just what we like the ideas we came up with as far and wide as you can. And we will probably be doing the same, like at your leaders, at like people you
Yeah.
look up to, and try and have this go as far as you possibly can, so that if even if you don't agree with it, it at least starts the discussion in this community, so we can come together and finally like get this like figured out. And once again, thank you very much for watching. Thank you to my guests. Thank you for everybody for coming through. Scrappy, couldn't make it, but Gregory, Sagi, Brian, Daquan, thank you very much, very, very much for coming through and talking about this with me because I know it was hard for y'all, but it was
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
So Gramps is here. Thanks, Gramps. I appreciate it. So we will see you next time. Hopefully, next episode is a little bit better, but I think we might need to do a part 2 just to get the industry side of things because the people who were supposed to represent the actual industry weren't able to come. Not their fault, once again. But I might need to do a part 2 with them so that we can have the better, get the industry side.
I mean, I'm sure we all, like, speaking of the part 2 bringing them in, definitely I think there's room to expand with that. And I'm pretty sure we all have questions in a sense, not necessarily anything that's prying, but in the sense of what they think about this and what they think about that, and what's the best way to handle, certain issues.
Yeah, it may end up being beneficial that it's in 2 parts for that, so it doesn't run on for 6 hours.
True, that as well. Yeah. So if you guys have questions and I'm talking to my panelists this time, please DM them to me, or you can even put them right in the Discord, and I'll try and make another topics Google Docs that we can talk about next time. And I can also run our ideas by them. And then now I'm also talking to the audience. If you guys have any ideas, please feel free to DM me on either of my FGC or main Twitter account. It's always open. I'll also make sure to write them down so I can ask, and I'll try and let you guys know when part 2 will be. I'm tired right now. I don't want to do it anytime soon. I'd take a break. Let's do some goofy stuff for a while, like relax and wind down, because this was emotionally draining, but it was necessary.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
He said goofy.
Logging on the SRB2K right now as we speak.
Logging on SRB2K, yeah. Have a good day, everybody. We'll see you
go play some SRB2K off stream.
Enjoy.
Have a good day. Don't
Bye.
be mad. And stay safe. I love you, people. That went well.
Yeah.
Like, very well.
That extremely well, actually.
I'm surprised.
First time I actually spoke like that in God knows how long.
Yeah.
But it was tough, but it was necessary. Let's
You had no
wind
idea
down.
how hard it was not to fucking curse. My God, I wanted to say some shit.
I think I probably did.
I
curse.
swear, like,
I don't know. My language
maybe,
kind of just.
or possibly a little.
Slightly.
I'm pretty sure I cursed.
Yo, Sagi, I know
you cursed
I'm not supposed to curse.
God damn.
Sagi, I know you hate SRB, but you are more than welcome to join us, dude. Because we're going to be relaxing and trying to get our mind off things.
Yeah.
You are more I know you hate it, but you're more than welcome to hang with us, even in chat if you want.
Yeah, I might chill
listen,
out for
Greg, that
SRB2K
extends
has
to
been
you, my guy.
pretty fun for the past couple of weeks or so.
Yeah. Greg, that extends to you if you want to join in or if you just want to hang out in voice chat.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm so far the opposite of people. But, like, talking about stuff like this doesn't emotionally drain me. It's actually not talking about stuff like this that emotionally drains me. It's the exact opposite. It's like talking about this is just like...
Well, our audio's been on this entire time. I knew something would go wrong. Let me.
I mean, I was pretty sure